Last week on the WREC, our top 8 teams were reduced to a final 4, and on day 1, it was Team Dark that we would say goodbye to. They put up their best fight against Na'Vi in a 3-game series, but unfortunately depart the tournament at this stage. They gave us some of the most interesting compositions and different picks that we didn't see from other teams, and we will see Team Dark in the last chance qualifier, so it's definitely not the end of their run from Europe. Second game of the day is Zero Zone with the team on the losing side from Team Queso, who are one of the titans of the bracket. And Zero Zone, we've seen some great performances through the open bracket, but it would be Team Queso advancing through their lower bracket run. We swapped up to the upper bracket to check out ViV versus Gamelord, and Gamelord are one of the final teams that we're expecting to make it all the way through, and ViV gave them a run for their money. Gamelord looking very strong with Redemption Seraphine to get them through to an upper bracket finals showdown against WREC, who had a dominant objective control game, despite the fact that Formulation actually had the gold lead. WREC would 2-0 their way past Formulation for a showdown in the top of the bracket against Gamelord later today. That meant we had to say goodbye to 2 more teams, and it would be ViV advancing in the lower bracket with the biggest play we've seen so far in the WREC. Massive set ultimate would crush through as ViV would advance to the lower bracket finals, and their opponents would be an upset. It was Formulation upsetting the bracket, knocking out the defending EU champions, and advancing to a showdown today. That's where we start. Let's see who makes it through.
Welcome to the official Riot Games Fabric EMEA Championship.
Everybody round, everybody round, we know we get hyped. Everybody round, 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 we know we get hyped.
Put out more damage down in these team fights, but Zeph's quite tanky in the front line. You can see all this shielding coming through, and Joey this time gets charmed up and gets taken down, and that's exactly why Hester has been picking this Rakan and has looked insanely good on it. Now this Yuumi is not enough to keep everything alive.
I think we can take down WREC, obviously. We are not playing to our top level. We are actually in a slope right now, and we are doing the best we can to come back from that slope, but
Probably end the game, as that's the hook onto Kamau. Kamau is going to fall. Absolute Zero gets blocked, and I was hoping to see a little bit more from Formulation, but WREC have absolutely destroyed them as random on that signature. Darius is going to go for the triple onto the killing spree. Yes, he said.
You know, I feel like when it comes to this, there's 2 types of people. There's people who predict RICs and they're consistently correct, and there's Stress who consistently predicts against us and is always wrong. So I think if you want to be not like Stress, you should probably predict RICs for next week, and yeah, I think we'll be able to take the series against Gamelord.
Is going to get Mullet the kill. Now they're trying to chase down onto Franders. Kranix hasn't really felt his impact in this fight yet, but there's a double kill for the set. Gonna chase through as our nation forced to stasis. Absolute Zero.
We knew we could win, so we never gave up, and we just played our game. We knew what to buy, we knew what to play, and I think we did it pretty well.
It's going to be a long time before that Herald actually gets the tower. Acolyte in the front line for the time being. That's a really huge bullet time. That's an awful play for Team Queso right now. They managed to trade 1-for-1 for the time being, but they don't actually get the reset onto Acolyte. Oh, they played that. I don't know, man.
In my opinion, ViV, like, they're pretty strong. Like, you can call them like dark horse, you know, for European team. Like, they have pretty solid team comps. They have pretty solid players. And I think it's gonna be like pretty good match.
Well, if you are not hyped for our finals weekend of the Open Bracket yet, I don't know what's going to get you hyped. Welcome, everybody, to the WREC. I'm Stress, joined by Hells and Stuart once again. And this is finals weekend. This is exactly where we want to be, Hells. I mean, we have two incredibly good matchups today. Looking forward to Game Lord versus REC. We'll touch on it all the way through the broadcast. How hype is that series?
Dude, after watching that video even more, that video just pumped energy into me. I will have to see these teams play against each other. And we're going to see it today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. Man, this weekend is going to be a banger, Stress.
Yeah, we have the possibility of seeing multiple matchups happen a couple of times throughout. When we look through the upper bracket, you can see it's Game Lord versus REC. As we said, this is the winner's final. So this won't determine who exactly is going to Barcelona for our finals yet. But the winner gets, obviously, an advantage stepping up into the grand final. Our first series today is going to be ViV versus Formulation. That's an important one to determine who will be in the lower bracket final. It's all very easy and straightforward once we get through. And you can see our games for Saturday and Sunday are determined by the result of today's games. So really, really important things to start with. And we actually do have some important news that we need to touch on before we get into our first games of the day. So first of all, this week there was a competitive ruling that came out against Na'Vi. That means they've been disqualified from not only this bracket, but also the last chance qualifier. So unfortunately for Na'Vi, they will not be in any contention now for the spots in Barcelona or for the spots later, obviously, for Worlds. A different set of news was released by WREC on Twitter, and that goes to the remaining spots for our Barcelona finals. They will be added to the European last chance qualifier. That means there will be 3 spots coming from that last chance qualifier. And Stuart, I know you've been keeping a really close eye on how those last chance qualifiers have been going. Which teams are we expecting right now that are in that top 4 area?
Yeah, this week was the last chance qualifier, open qualifiers. So we saw teams like Unicorns of Love go through, Virtus Pro went through, Team Dark and also Team Sapphire. So they're definitely the teams to look out for the last chance qualifier playoffs, which will be happening next weekend as well. So even though we have finals this weekend, it starts all over again next weekend as well. And we get to see 4 European teams battle it out in Barcelona with the Turkish as well. So it's going to be really, really fun.
Yeah, really fun. And we're looking forward to that. But we still have some really, really good series to get through before we get that. And let's take a look at our predictions. Snitch, I heard you. I see you. You've been tweeting me. You've been doing interviews about me. And if I'm so wrong, then you're in trouble today because I'm finally on the bandwagon. I'm finally here. I mean, with the rest of the cast of Team Xandra, I'm pretty sure tweeted Game Lord win as well. But Stuart, you're the only one here from today's broadcast team that are going for Game Lord against REC.
Yeah, I'm going for Game Lord, even though they've had a bit of a rough patch. I believe in Game Lord. I mean, this is what we love to call like the El Clasico of Wild Rift, REC versus Game Lord. All these players have been around the scene for so long, and they played against each other so much. But REC didn't look too comfortable against Formulation. I think both of these teams coming into this didn't look too, confident going into the next round. But that's going to be the big one at the end of the day, and I cannot wait for that one to start. I
can't wait for that either. I'm going to let you head off, get ready for an interview, and then, of course, analysis on the rest of the day as Hells and I jump a little bit deeper into some of our headlines coming out of last week. And we got to start with the day of upsets. I mean, we always have our favorites on paper. We look at the likes of Team Queso to be upsets, but Hells, it did not go that way last week.
Yeah, definitely. ViV Esports. I did vote for them, but obviously they were still the underdogs, right? Up against a big team like Na'Vi. But damn, the underdogs showed up. And they were not the favorites, but they did win. And ViV Esports especially showing such an amazing performance. And the other team as well, Formulation Gaming, like, how do they do it? They won against Team Queso. We thought that Team Queso is one of the top teams of Europe, and they were so powerful, right? With players like Andres and Acolyte especially. Formulation Gaming did it, and now we're going to be seeing those 2 teams that did the insane upsets play up against each other, and that's what makes this game such an incredible game to watch, Stress.
Yeah, it was a really fun game to watch. I know that it's one that people have been keeping their eyes on. From our upsets, we look forward a little bit more to some of the players that remain in the tournament and just these top teams and how jungle focused. Like Europe right now, I feel jungle is perhaps the most stacked role that we have. There's so many insane players from that role.
Yeah, definitely. You know, SC7, Tyrus, Zefta, etc., etc. There's so many names to call out. Andres, as I said, from Team Queso. All of the junglers are, for some reason, so incredibly good. Like, it honestly, like, you know, I want to give credit to everyone, but it just feels like jungle is on another level. Like, the junglers are so good. Like, also Vex from Navi, such an incredible player. Just all of the junglers so good, and I'm hoping to see more of it in today's games, right? Like, we're definitely going to see more of this, Stress.
Oh, totally. And I think the most interesting thing for me as well is it's not even just like every team is playing the same play style with great junglers. We have teams like Team Queso who they put a lot of focus towards the jungle, so many resources, and then you see Rix, who it's like SE7 goes and plays for random in topside and just so happens to carry at the same time, right? It's like you have such a good different focus across the role. Like I think it's the most exciting role for us to watch right now in Europe for sure. And I know that obviously from jungle goes to objective control, which I know that Stuart has been looking a little bit into our objective control over the last couple of weeks, and there was a really key point from last week's series that Stuart wants to hone in a little bit more with Smartsteel.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm back for another segment of Smartsteel. We're taking a look at Team Queso versus Formulation, the last game of series from last weekend. And the most important thing to note from this series, or this game in particular, you've got the vision control from Formulation. You can see it with the pause screen here. The two wards on the side of Formulation didn't get sweeped out at all by the side of Team Queso, which might come back to haunt them. And at the same time as well, in this situation, you have the Baron lane minions, which the minion wave control for Team Queso wasn't there, but because Elder Dragon was up, Team Queso didn't want to go over to the opposite side of the map, because if they do, then other members of Formulation can start off Elder. You can see that Don tries to go for an initial engagement onto Team Queso and onto Andreas. Didn't really work out for it, unfortunately. We get into like this little first team fight that happens, and funny enough, it's actually Team Queso that come out on top in this team fight, actually trading 2 for 1. You can see Joey in the backline here trying to survive, and UI in the end not being able to get any kills. But the problem is that Baron minion wave, as you can see on the mini map, is still pushing into the base, and that means that both Joey and Mephanot have to go back to base, and they'll probably have to buy teleports as well to try and get back. You'll see that teleports are being bought on the side of Team Queso. Mephanot has to defend the base. Joey is now teleporting back to the Dragon as well, and now we're in a bit of a 3 versus 3 situation. Veos has to go back to base because he's very low from the previous team fight. You can see he's the one now that's going to defend that Baron lane minions, because you can see they keep pushing on, and that means that Formulation can keep team fighting as well, because Team Queso can't really do much against Formulation because they have that Baron late wave pushing. So you can see that at the moment this is a 3 versus 3. This could have been a 4 versus 3 on the side of Team Queso if they didn't have that Baron lane pushing. You can see as the team fight plays out, Joey kills Feko but dies himself. But as you can see, this is never team fight win for Team Queso. However, you have Don coming back alive, and you also have UI coming back alive, which again, they buy more teleports. Don comes in, cleans up Mephanot, UI comes in to clean up Veos, and by this time, Andreas does come back to life, does try to defend the base, tries to go for a little miracle play on the Elder Dragon, but in the end, they weren't able to do it. So just remember, vision is key, and also controlling the Baron wave minions are also key. So back to Stress and Hells as we get into today's first game.
Cheers, Stuart. Yeah, we always talk about how important minion waves are around objective control. One of the reasons I just don't play jungle as well. I don't want to be responsible for those kind of moments where I'm like, I still have to think about smiting while thinking about minions. How's your smite fights, Hells? Are you the confident jungler, or do you just avoid jungle?
Well, no, I like to play jungle. Jungle was great, and especially after seeing the games, I just love to play jungle because you can direct the game as a jungler. You're like the kingpin in the game. You decide what happens, and I really love that about the game, and that's especially what I love to see in Europe as well, because the European teams have such incredible junglers. Really inspires me to play more jungle as well, to be honest.
Yeah, you're also responsible though of all the dare I say it, flame when everyone's like, hey, you didn't fix my lane after I went 0-5 in lane. Anyway, that's enough about solo queue. We have exciting series today. Let's jump into our very first series of the day. Taking a look at the rosters for our first series between ViV and Formulation. I think some people wouldn't have expected these teams when we were looking at that Formulation versus Team Queso matchup, but when you look at the lineups of Millet, Tyrus, Shargs, Carnix, and Floor on the side of Viv, and then for Formulation, UI, Kimau, Don, Feko, and Zawa, I think two very interestingly and different style teams in the fact that Formulation, we've seen their team fighting presence be really good. These unique picks from Feko in that bottom lane makes them a really interesting team to watch.
Yeah, definitely. And not only the unique picks from Veko, right? Like we've seen him play Misfortune and Seraphine, but also Dawn. Dawn playing champions like the Irelia, for example. Like no one is playing Irelia except for him. And then also Kim Miao showing some crazy picks in the jungle. Like Formulation Gaming is very unpredictable in the draft.
I think so. I think exactly that. I think the one thing on Viv's side is I think individually that they're really good as well. So we'll dive into it a little bit more as you and I head into the cast. Let's hear what Stuart has to highlight before we get into our first series today.
Thank you again, Stress. Yes, I'm back with the key points. And you mentioned it already. It's the battle of the underdogs, really, in this lower bracket. We didn't really expect Viv and Formulation to come this far in the tournament. They took down both Na'Vi and Team Queso. So now we're going to see who's going to come out on top in the battle of the underdogs. We talk about the pocket picks as well for Formulation. Hells mentioned it very, very briefly there, but Feko loves to play these very interesting picks that we haven't seen before. He was the first one that brought out that Seraphine duo lane, Misfortune last weekend. We also saw Galio in the duo lane as well, so don't be surprised if we see maybe a few more interesting picks in this series. And last point is playing as a team. Both these teams like to group up together. They like to focus around them objectives and like to roam around the map as a five. So as you're watching this game, make sure to keep an eye on that, because if anyone splits up from their team, they could be caught out, and that could be the most crucial point in this series. That's everything. Time to get into picks and bans for game number 1 with Stress and Hells. Back to you.
Let's get into draft 1 of the day. We're ready. I think there's some key picks we have to highlight here. Specifically, like I want to call out one for Viv as we get into the draft. I think Sharg's Gragas has been like one of the best mid lane Gragas performances that we've seen. And then in the first series that Floor played, they paired like Janna Gragas together for this really interesting, like should be disengaged, but was actually really aggressive composition for Viv. So I'm interested to see where that draft goes. Get your votes in chat as well to see who you predict going through game 1. But Hells, I mean, we're still on the same patch, 3.0.B. The regular picks that we should anticipate being banned in draft are going to get put out there really quickly.
I mean, to be honest, they're regular picks, but I feel between these teams especially, we're going to be seeing some weird bans. Because as I said, right, like both these teams have some very weird picks that worked out great, right? Like for example, Tyrus on the Vi. I mean, who the hell would ban Vi? But now it's a like you could consider banning out a champion like that. Same for the Seraphine, right? Same for the Irelia, etc., etc. So getting into the draft, we see an instant Kha'Zix ban. We saw Kim Yao on the Kha'Zix. You know, we saw how good he is on it. Makes sense that ViV Esports bans it away. Olaf ban is a standard ban that we've seen a lot, right? Tyrus incredible on the Olaf. We've seen him on that as well. And then a Thresh ban Stress.
Taking it away from Sour. So we see a lot of like, if you're not going the engage route with like Rakan and Ziggs, you see a lot of Thresh Ziggs and safety where you can pull champions out. That's a red side Galio ban, which Formulation I always think of as one of the teams that are going to play Galio. So obviously an incredibly high priority on that coming out of here. And it's Viv that have banned the Gragas. So we know Gragas flexes. We talked about Shargs having a really good Gragas performance. So here comes some of those non-standard bans. So when you look at it, like there's a lot available, like Fiora's up, Jace's up, Set's up.
Everything is available.
A lot of things are available. Garen banned out. So now we get to see where the power picks lie.
Yeah, Rakan, Ziggs, Fiora, Camille, etc., etc., etc. There's so many picks open right now, and now it's all about the mind games, right? Like, do you pick the Ziggs as your first pick? And I talked about this with Snitch, for example, right? Like I told him, do you pick the Ziggs as the first pick? Because some teams try to counter the Ziggs, but what Snitch mentioned is you shouldn't try to counter the Ziggs, you should just pick it, because it's such a broken champion. Same could be said about the Rakan, which is the first pick right now. And as Formulation Gaming, you don't want to be giving Ziggs Rakan over to ViV Esports.
No, Rakan, just to give people a tiny preview, is so good that I know you'll be talking about Rakan a little bit later on in the show. Like he's a very, very high priority champion that we've talked about. Set now going to get picked up on red side. We'll see whether the Ziggs pairs up with it. Formulation are one of the teams that I think have shied away and have gone towards a few other picks from that bottom lane. But, you know, Snitch has a good point on there. It's Fiora that gets picked up. So that's a pretty strong bruiser and fighter top side of the map so far.
no Ziggs stress. They didn't pick the Ziggs. They're actually giving away the Rakan Ziggs to ViV Esports. Now the real question is, are they actually going to pick it? I mean, to me, it would be a no-brainer, right? But these are pro teams. There it is, of course. Like, it is indeed a no-brainer. They picked the Rakan Ziggs, and even though you have the Fiora to kind of counter it, because Fiora has the right post, I would say it's very, very dangerous to give away Rakan Ziggs. And then Camille as well. Honestly, like, this draft is looking very strong for ViV.
This is a lot of backline damage already. Like, there's the dive with Camille and Rakan. You've got the long-range ultimate from Ziggs. That being said, Formulation have a composition that right now want to go forward.
Yes.
And here comes the Seraphine from Feko. So what Seraphine can do is out-sustain. The problem is, though, if the damage is up front and is too much front-loaded and bursts people down, like Ziggs' ultimate can do with a Camille jumping on you, Seraphine doesn't get enough time to heal you.
Yeah, and I feel like this could potentially be countered with a Locket, but still it's obviously dangerous, right? Like the first two picks of Formulation Gaming, which is a Set and a Fiora, don't really get hurt too much by this combination that ViV Esports picked. But how else are you going to counter it? Is Formulation Gaming going to come through with that Irelia? Because Irelia is one of those champions that can work. And they did ban ViV. We talked about it. Formulation Gaming banned ViV. And let me tell you exactly the reason why. Oh, and an Irelia ban. I mean, we're just completely predicting these drafts right now. Like, it's so obvious what these teams ban. It's target bans, and it makes sense. And I'm gonna take some time to explain it because it's a lot. So ViV ban, it makes sense because ViV combined with Camille. ViV ults, Camille goes in as well, and Ziggs can just completely demolish your backline. It makes sense to ban it because Seraphine cannot stop the ViV. And for ViV Esports, it makes sense to ban out the Irelia because Irelia is a champion that can avoid the Rakan and the Camille. Irelia can just dash around, go for the Ziggs and kill him. So these bans make a lot of sense, Stress.
Yeah, they make a ton of sense. And, you know, this is exactly the situation that we kind of anticipated to be in when we were prepping for this series this week. And you know, as you said, the bans make sense. Both of those champions can avoid the Seraphine ultimate. Now we need to see where else do where else do the picks come from. Jax has been banned as well. So a lot of jungle presence towards Tyra is drawing many respect bans. We're actually like 6 junglers deep into this right now. That is a Yuumi ban. So no Yuumi Fiora combination. That could have been pretty deadly as well, balancing the healing with the crowd control, as well as the damage that comes out of Fiora. So Formulation, where do they go here? Is it going to be... So they could be looking for mid lane. It could be support as well. But that set can go many, many different places. So there's a lot of options still available for Formulation.
It's a bit hard to think of what they can go for because they can go for multiple routes, and they actually picked the Renekton. And like, this is kind of the problem that you have as ViV Esports, right? Like, ViV Esports did pick the Ziggs and the Rakan, but you don't do too well against these bruiser types of champions. And Formulation Gaming is deciding to go for bruiser jungler, bruiser Baron laner, bruiser mid laner. Because we can counter you with that, right? Like, that's also why the Irelia was banned, because that's also a champion understood. So Formulation Gaming doing a surprisingly good job at countering this draft stress.
Yeah, doing a good job. However, ViV are now looking towards the pick route with Camille, Ahri, and then some damage from Ziggs. We should also keep in mind Set may be going down into the support role. I think typically when we see Seraphine, we've seen a lot of like Seraphine Sona, that type of thing. So that would be where I would expecting things to go. That Ahri picked up for Shags. You know, if the damage doesn't stick up front, Seraphine is going to heal up through it. You're going to need some anti-heal pretty quickly for this double AP composition. And now an AD champion that can carry. I was going to say AD carry. So there's some attack damage coming through as well. Could be jungle, could be top, or either jungle or top, as that Camille will find his spot as well.
Yeah, and I like the Riven a lot because Riven can actually deal with those bruisers because of the way that she works. And Zed, I love the Zed pick. I absolutely love the Zed pick because that is how you play against the Ziggs. And now it's going to be incredibly interesting to see how Kranix plays the Ziggs into this composition, because he's up against 3 bruisers, the Seraphine and the Zed. Like, it's really hard for him to stay alive, right? Like, it's going to be incredibly hard for him to stay alive. So it's basically going to be a battle between, is ViV Esports going to be able to destroy Formulation Gaming before Formulation Gaming reaches the Ziggs? And oh man, these fights are going to be messy, Stress. They're going to get real messy.
Yeah, Formulation have a pretty good ability to carry from either that Fiora or the Zed getting into the backline and messing up Kranix, as you said. I think for ViV, it's so much more about great Ziggs ultimates are going to be required in order to allow Ahri and Riven to finish the kills. Like, we always, when we look at a Ziggs team, in my mind, I'm always looking at like, who actually is going to get the kill credit after that ultimate has gone down. Riven can absolutely do that with the ultimate at that second part where the wind slash goes all the way through. You've also, as we said, got the Ari there if she can tidy things up. So I think there's flashes of these unique picks that we've seen. I just want to get onto the Rift and see who comes out ahead. Formulation have been great team fighting in the past few weeks, but I think ViV may have the individual upper hand when it comes to like player versus player in my mind.
I would say so as well, actually. I would definitely say so as well. And looking at these compositions, like we know both these teams are really good at what they do. And it feels like both teams are playing to their strengths, especially Formulation Gaming. As we get into the game, we saw Formulation Gaming pull off compositions like this incredibly well. So yeah, let's see how they do it in this game, Stress.
Yeah, we've got a couple of different movements early on. We saw Don going up towards the top side. We've got supports around mid lane as well as Zauer's here with Floor, trying to get that early push on just to be able to help around those initial crabs, get the early push into the jungle as well as Sharks is going to roam up and try and spot out Kamau. No engages though to begin this one out, as I mean both duo laners are fairly safe when it comes to like the Ziggs and Seraphine, so you can afford to roam out of lane for a little bit at the early game.
Definitely, and I want to mention something. Formulation Gaming running the set support, Stress, and even though I guess it can work, I really don't like it into this composition of ViV Esports, because if you look at Ziggs deals a lot of sustain damage, and sure, Ziggs ultimate is a lot of burst damage, but how often are you really going to be using that second ability of set like on a good way, because you're just not dealing with that much burst damage?
Yeah, that's a fair point, and I think it kind of eats into some of the potential sustain of Seraphine Sona, that kind of thing, but it does offer obviously a lot of crowd control, and that's one thing that I think Formulation I wouldn't have struggled without an engaged support, but I think only having that Seraphine ult to set up a fight is pretty easy for ViV to go, okay, well, all we got to do is just not get Seraphine ulted, and it's really hard for Renekton and a Fiora to get it onto you, but they're going to go for first blood up in the top lane as Millip is able to survive through ViV, 1-0 on the board.
And Fluor also with the rotation, even though he didn't actually do anything, he gave a shield to Millip right there, so Millip wouldn't even die if UI used his Ignite. Like, so amazing seeing these rotations from Fluor, just like last game, and here we're going to be seeing a gank.
Yeah, now it's going to be Formulation looking towards the bottom side as Kranix is trying to cut the wave and does just in time to deny the dive from Formulation. Well played to know if the minions aren't there, there's no dive available.
Definitely, and as we look into our replay here, this is what I wanted to talk about. Millip caught UI, but then here, as we can see, UI did still have an Ignite. He didn't even bother to use it, but if he used it, Millip would have died without the Rakan. So Fluor basically made sure that Millip got that kill and stayed alive. Like, this is what I really love about these supports. And on the other hand, let's take a look at Formulations Gaming's vision game, Stress. Look at the bottom jungle. Oh my god, how were they able to get so many wards right there? And this is going to give them a massive advantage. Like, how is ViV going to gank that bot lane now?
Yeah, they actually have, 5 trinket wards and a crab, or they did at least, as one died in the topside jungle. So like Formulation really heavily focusing their early vision. I love to see that kind of play where they're actually investing in it, because Stuart already in his segment walked through how good Formulation are at using their vision and making picks around it. So we're going to have to track that as this game goes on.
Definitely, like in the replay that Stuart shows, Formulation won because of their vision, and we can see them clearly going for it again. Tyrus is sweeping away some of them, but it's still very good. And I want to talk about Dawn on the Zed as well. He's playing Zed in the mid lane, right? It's an incredibly aggressive champion, same as Ari. These are both champions that love to gank, so we haven't seen any ganks from them quite yet. As we have an engage in the Baron lane.
Yeah, UI may have baited Millip in. Millip, no flash from that engage in top lane, but they can't quite close the distance. Kamau is going to throw out the grand challenge. I think that was a little bit ambitious because there was no more crowd control. And this is the problem. Once that stun's down from UI, you're relying on somebody stupidly like throwing crowd control at you that you riposte. Like it's not going to happen.
Exactly, and that's what I feel like may lack a little bit from Formulation Gaming's composition. We have another little fight, but not too much is going to be happening right there. But exactly, they're really heavily relying on Vecco on that Seraphim to go all in. But Millip may be looking for some trouble
this time Zauer's here, he gets pulled in, and this time they're going to be able to block. I think he blocked the hook shot by the looks of it. It's going to spell the end, and that's a big kill onto UI. Looked like the suplex was right in time for that hook shot, if I read that correctly.
Definitely. They countered the hookshot perfectly with the suplex, and they're trading objectives. They're shaking hands, which is honestly fine for both teams, right? Formulation Gaming taking it with health. They're very likely going to be taking the first turret as well, or they're going to be saving it for the mid lane turret. I would assume they go for the first turret. They're giving away the Ocean Dragon to ViV Esports, which is not a bad deal, considering that they have a lot of burst-heavy champions like the Z. So I really like this call from Formulation Gaming.
Yeah, Kamau may very well have been in trouble as he was forced to flash away. UI is going to be able to slice and dice his way back to safety. Rift Herald will charge, and it was just defended in enough time that I think that they can kill the Rift Herald and actually maintain that tower's health. So that's going to be a tough one to crack without a regank.
Formulation didn't even get the first turret right here, which is really bad for them, as it gives a lot of bonus gold to get it, and that's really why you're giving away that dragon, right? Like to get that first turret. So Formulation Gaming has to look for that turret as fast as they can.
Yeah, Zauer gets a little bit of damage tagged onto him, will back away. And this is one thing that we always look at, like, Zig's probably the best mid lane clearer. Seraphine's pretty good at it as well, but that Seraphine is so much part of your composition for actually looking for picks and trying to get crowd control that she almost has to push mid and then try and move away, which is really hard against the Ziggs.
Definitely, and I want to talk about something that I find very weird, which is Dawn's build. He instantly rushed Asura's Grudge, and I feel that he did that because of their lack of CC, because he gets those slows, and we're gonna have a fight here.
Oh, UI is trying to bait in as well, but look, Millip and Flower know that, like, basically the supports have been here the entire game. Here's the roam from Seraphine, though, as Fekko has the ultimate available, but once again, no more minions means that ViV are able to dissuade another tower dive, and that means Ziggs gets free time clearing in the bottom lane, and Sharks has been pushing in the bottom lane as well.
Yeah, this is really bad for Formulation Gaming. They're just desperately trying to get that turret, but they're losing pressure on the other sides of the map, and we have another fight.
Zhao is on a ward. Doesn't matter, though, as Zhao is going to be able to dash back out. Here comes Tyra's into the fight, though. Here comes the Ziggs ultimate as well, and it's all been Formulation trying to force things through the top lane, and it's ViV that are the ones that pick up the kill.
Formulation is not going to get that turret stressed. Like, Formulation is not going to get that turret. ViV Esports is going to make sure that Formulation doesn't get that turret. And as we can see, actually, Formulation Gaming is the one that's getting ahead into this game. And Formulation Gaming's pushing of waves has just been much, much better in this game.
Oh, ViV backing away from topside. Yeah, ViV have themselves just under 1,000 gold lead. It's a little bit shy as Formulation pick up a couple of waves.
Yeah, definitely. And as we look into this replay, Zauer with a beautiful ultimate, but it's just not enough. Fluor escaped with his ultimate, and there we see it, the Ziggs ultimate, providing so much value from such far away. Tyrus did fail his flash combo, but it's okay. He's playing the Riven, which works very well into this composition. Just ViV Esports doing an amazing job in this game right now.
Yeah, ViV certainly controlling the pace, even though it's Formulation looking for the plays. The fact that Tyra's picked up a kill, Millip has picked up a kill as well. Like, these are two champions that the later the game goes, they are going to be tough to deal with. Obviously, Kamau's Fiora scales very well later into the game, but Camille can pull people really wide across the map and make problems in side lanes very, very quickly. So we'll have to see whether Kamau can actually match that the later this goes. They're cutting in for a flank into middle lane here. As you can see, Flower is starting to collapse with the rest of the team. Riven from behind, that's a beautiful knock-up, is going to start this fight. The Seraphine ultimate goes wide, but there have been no kills so far. Hextech Ultimatum is, however, going to lock Kamau in place for the second kill. 2 kills over to Tyra's, and ViV are looking great. Oh, Charman's over the wall as well, looking for Dawn. It's not going to be enough.
Wow, and Formulation Gaming couldn't escape anywhere. ViV Esports from the bottom, from the top, from the left, from the right. They came from everywhere, and now they're the ones looking for a first turret.
Yeah, they're going to try and dive topside. It was top tower that fell first, as Renekton was able to get it, but at what cost? Because that's a mid lane tower, and those previous kills going over to ViV.
Tyrus is still alive. The Dawn went all in on Tyrus just to be able to get that shot down, but unfortunately he was unable to get it. And in that last team fight, which I'm sure we're going to be seeing a replay of very soon, Veka was just caught off guard. He was caught in the middle of it, and he's playing the Seraphine. Seraphine needs to be in the backline. Like, that's what I mean. And as we look into the replay, there it is. Veka just standing in the middle, not really being able to do anything. And Tyrus just catches the free kill. And then when the Seraphine dies, that's when the composition dies as well from Formulation Gaming, because Seraphine is the one that's healing up and the one that's bringing the CC to the table.
Yeah, that's how well ViV have played around this committing into the top side by Formulation. They were able to push the wave back out and then cut all the way through Formulation's jungle to set up that play with the flank. Beautifully done, as ViV are going to try and defend bot lane while holding mid as well. It basically means Formulation can't get to an objective yet. We'll see which one Formulation opt towards, as everyone's floating towards the bottom side for that dragon.
Yeah, and ViV Esports is the one that wants to fight, and Formulation is the one that wants to shake hands right now. We can clearly see it, right? Like, ViV is looking, which objective is Formulation going to start? We're going to take the fight, and a fight is definitely going to be happening very soon. As Formulation Gaming starts to understand what's happening, right?
Yeah, UI is so far away from this, and we're still committing towards top lane, because there is a wave stacking like coming towards Formulation top lane. However, when they show one mid and one bot, I think ViV may have the time to just rush this down. Seraphine's going to recall that. They're handshaking on nothing at this point. They're saying, okay, you take the dragon. They can't even get to that Rift Herald because of the way that ViV have been playing around mid lane.
And that's exactly what ViV is supposed to be doing. They shouldn't handshake. They can fight so easily because they're ahead, and their composition allows it. They got the second dragon, and now they're going to make sure Formulation doesn't get their hands on this Rift Herald either. And I feel like Formulation is going to go for a desperate player, but ViV Esports should be able to defend.
Yeah, Flower has done such a good job of being at least just around whenever UI wants to engage. Renekton has that one stun, and if his target gets away, it can be really hard for him to get further into the fight. ViV are going to clear out the vision and apparently start the Rift Herald as well. Formulation is set up for this if they can get that. It's going quickly. I think Formulation are going to back away. They don't want to take the fight. So a lot of objective control going over to ViV. It's only the one Rift Herald early that went to Formulation. Everything since has been ViV.
Yeah, exactly. And ViV just playing the macro game perfectly this game. They know the powers of their composition. We saw them struggle with this a little bit before, where they didn't go for those power plays before, where they basically shook hands when they shouldn't. But now we can clearly see they've learned from their mistakes, and they're playing this game absolutely perfectly macro-wise. They've secured 2 dragons, they've secured a Rift Herald, and very soon, they have actually already secured the mid lane turret. Very soon, they may even secure another mid lane turret with that Rift Herald that they just took.
Yeah, and they have side lane turrets they can start looking to play towards as well. This is where that Camille getting a kill fairly early on, even though it's even in the lane, allows Camille to have now her 2 items completed. She starts getting really difficult to deal with, and you can see that's where Flower is going towards that Camille. Rift Herald's popped in the bottom lane. Ultimatum's going to lock Don in place. He's going to try and buy time, but his exit route is cut off by the Mega Inferno Bomb, and it's bottom tower going down before Rift Herald even charged. It's so far back in the lane that's going to charge into the inner turret eventually.
Yeah, and absolutely no chance for Don right there. We saw him with a desperate ultimate, but Fluor coming in with an ultimate, just making sure Don cannot even use his abilities to go for that fight, and they're going to be going for another turret stress.
Yeah, they're going to dive with this Rift Herald, and Kranix, his ultimate is not available, so that big AoE damage is not there, but all they need is a little bit of damage down to that satchel charge, and they haven't got the minions to do it. This tower will not fall. You need that tower lower, so satchel charge will actually destroy it. So a little bit of a blunder, but they just couldn't get the damage down. I do like, however, that ViV don't just overcommit and say, well, we have to make the play work. They're like, this one doesn't feel 100%. Let's not commit everything.
Yeah, definitely. And Kranix did actually miss an empowered attack. He shot it. I don't know if he missed it on purpose, but he shot an empowered attack from Ziggs, which deals a lot of bonus damage to turrets, by the way. He shot it on an enemy, and I feel like if they had just focused the turret a little more, the satchel charge from Ziggs would have been able to secure it. But it's as you said, right? ViV Esports were like, whatever, we're not going to overextend. They took their win, and they went back. And this is exactly how you want to be playing when you're ahead. You take those wins, you go back, you don't give the shutdowns. Because if we look into Tyrus right now, he has a big shutdown. He has 3 kills, 0 deaths. And I love what Tyrus is building right there. He's going for the Solaris charge-based stress. And we know how much damage Riven can do when she gets that item.
He wants to one-shot people. He just wants to get there and, like, within a second blow people up. Yeah, I always think of it as, like, when you're ahead like this, you just want to win more. You don't want to give the opportunity away to, like, start losing. Baron has spawned, Dragon not up for another 30-plus seconds at this point in the game. I think, realistically, if ViV get this next Dragon and can move towards a play on top side, it's going to be really hard for Formulation, save for an overextension from ViV, to actually contest objectives, because this gold lead is growing, the objective lead is growing as well, and ViV have a really dangerous composition to fight against.
Definitely, and I want to highlight some builds again, which is the Dawn, right? Like, yet again, he's just going for the Cerulda Black Cleaver. What I always like to say personally is no matter what, you always go for the Yumo's Ghostplate on set, because it's so good. But he's choosing to go for this build, and I feel like he's being a bit punished for it because we saw in the early game he did go all in with some ultimates, but he didn't get those kills. I want to stop talking those stress because I feel like something's going to be happening right there.
It does feel like a fight's coming as Floor is in a position to go aggressive. Set goes in as that's a big Ziggs ultimate to deal damage across the board, but it's actually Millup that has fallen to begin this one off. Formulation, they're low, but the Seraphine healing, if it can come through. There is no anti-heal on the side of ViV. I was going to bring it up right before this fight, and it's such a key moment. They cannot quite get the damage down from Don, as that's a big charm. Kimau is going to riposte off the damage from the Orb of Deception, and now they can continue on to the Dragon. That's a big fight from Formulation, and it indicated to ViV they absolutely need healing debuff at this point.
Definitely, Millup diving super deep, trying to get to Fekko, but Fekko with amazing positioning, making sure they actually secure the kill on Millup before that fight had even started, really. Sure, ViV Esports had a beautiful Ziggs ultimate, but Fekko was being kept alive. And as you look into this replay, Formulation Gaming actually had the vision advantage right here. ViV Esports didn't know what they were running into. And as we look into this replay, look at Millup. He just got caught. He died before anything happened. And even though you engage super well, if you lose Millup in the process and turn it into a 4 versus 5 position, that's a disastrous team fight for you. And Tyrus with a really nice stasis because they did all in Tyrus, but like Formulation Gaming showing that they can still win team fights. And the later we get into this game, the stronger the Seraphine gets stress.
Yeah, especially if there's no anti-heal. That's another catch, maybe this time on Tyrus, who was extended over into the top lane. And this was working so well for ViV early. Early ViV were playing around Tyrus, playing around Millup and bringing Floor up in time. This time, split second, the jungle is down. There's no smite. And I mean, this Baron attempt from Formulation, all they've got to do is balance the damage, and they should be able to take this very easily. That's a Ziggs ultimate coming through. Big damage down on, as they're going to get more as they hop over the back. Formulation are trying to back themselves away as Fekko has fallen. Formulation, I don't think that they watched the Baron damage video that got posted this week. Zawa will be able to get on with that shield to absorb a lot of the damage down, as that's a double kill for Don. Can they actually finish off Kimau, though? It's a big fight for ViV. It's gone back and forth as 3 members of Formulation are down. Zawa's going to get out with Kimau. Tyrus is back available, but it's only 3 members of ViV up as well.
Yeah, Formulation Gaming definitely needs to take a peek at that video that Jinko made about Baron, because their armor and magic resist exactly was being reduced by the Baron. And I feel like Formulation Gaming went for that play because they had a Seraphine. They were very comfortable thinking like, yeah, we have a Seraphine anyways, we're just going to use the shielding, which they tried to do. But before Seraphine could even use anything, she just got hard CC'd. As you can see right here, she was not even able to do anything. Like, they chain CC'd the target that they had to chain CC, and they went all in. And then with the armor and magic resist reduction as well, you just die as Formulation Gaming. So they got way too confident right there, thinking that they could just survive whatever was coming to them and outsmite the enemy. But no, the Baron deals damage, the Baron debuffs you, and then the Seraphine healing is just not enough stress.
Oh, Fekko may very well be caught, though, as he gets stunned by Tyrus. That's the charm lands as well. The healing is down as UI. Big pull in from Zawa on this set is going to dissuade the fight for now, but here comes Millup from the side. Ultimatum's going to lock onto UI. Don's going to go in with a death mark. Can they get the damage down? They don't really have much more damage to stick, as ViV, it looked shaky from a moment after Tyrus got caught, but they are right back into it, onto the Baron.
Basically, the composition of Formulation has keep
Kranix watched the video. Kranix saw the video. Look at him do it.
yeah.
He's standing in the same spot. So Jinko posted a video this week. You should go check it out on Baron. Basically, if you stand in the spot that Kranix is as a ranged carry, and every time the attack falls from the sky, you just got to sidestep it. You take 0 damage. You don't get your armor reduced. You don't get your magic reduced. Kranix watched the video. We know it.
Oh, that's so amazing to see. It's so amazing to see that they know how to play the Baron. But talking about Formulation's gaming's composition, basically the way that they win the game, keep Fekko alive. If Fekko dies, you lose the game. And we can see that ViV Esports knows this as well. They charmed him with Sharks on that Ahri, and then it was done deal already. Formulation Gaming lost the teamfight when Fekko died. That's basically it. So the team fights that we're going to be seeing is ViV Esports all-inning Formulation Gaming, just going for Fekko. If they kill him, they win. If they don't, they lose.
His heal is down, but his flash is up for this next fight. As really, that's one of my worries about this composition is like they rely on so much damage to come from Kimau and Don, and
Wow!
No way! What? Feko just gets destroyed, and that's exactly what we were talking about, is that burst damage can just eat through Seraphine. No way did Seraphine just get one shot by that ultimate. That's the game done. That's it. They've got Baron buff. There's almost no wave clear here. They just need to push through bot tower and take the Infernal Elder Drake. Like, game over.
We talked about depth.
Hextech Ultimatum into the knockup from Flowers. Flowers going to back away. Perfect charm lands from Sharks, and they are just turning the pressure up as ViV say they want to advance in the lower bracket. ViV want to go 1-0 in this series. Kamau now under pressure. He's going to stasis. Isn't going to be enough to keep ViV in this game. These Baron minions are going to push it through. There's enough damage down. This isn't even all of ViV pushing through. Damage out of Sharks is going to end the game. The Infernal's gone as well. ViV Esports take everything and just annihilate Formulation from one Ziggs ult at the end of that game.
What? I'm still stuck at that part. What?
Yeah, I know. Same. I was like, wait, he disappeared. Like,
so what happened? Ziggs threw his first ability and hit the Seraphine once, and then he ulted her. And he destroyed her from like 70% HP. We talked about it. The whole thing that it's about is killing Feko on the Seraphine, right? Like, that's the big task. And then Chronix is like, whatever, big task, I don't care. I'm just going to do it myself. And then we're going to finish the game. What an incredible game, Strats.
That's insane. We definitely, I think we'll see a replay during this package. I want to see it again. Some of these fights showed the strength of Ziggs, that even if Ziggs isn't picking up the kills, like, the damage done is enough that the rest of the team just comes and tidies up. It's so hard not to fight in an area where Ziggs hits at least 3 people with an ultimate, that this composition that wants to stand around Seraphine, in my mind, is totally undone. Like, this Baron is just easy pickings for Ziggs. He just throws it down.
Yeah, exactly. And this Baron lane, as I said, is way too greedy, right? Seraphine is not going to save you from the Baron and the Ziggs. Sure, Seraphine has nice healing. Sure, she has a nice barrier, but it's not enough. And funnily, she was not even able to use it because ViV Esports did a great job focusing down the Seraphine. Fluor going in with the Rakan ultimate. He didn't even allow. And this, there we go. Oh my god, I could watch that all day, Stress.
The increased damage on that middle like target point is so rare that you see it happen so like definitively that it's just like, no, the one shot, done.
That was crazy. That was absolutely amazing. And just ViV Esports doing an amazing job playing that composition correctly, right? Like, even though they did make some mistakes, which cost them some team fights, at the end of the day, they understood the assignment, right? Kill Veko, kill the Seraphine, win the game. And that's exactly what they did. They got the Ziggs fight. As you can see, Veko is actually 0-4 on that Seraphine. They constantly did an amazing job just making sure they kill Veko. And I want to see the damage graph, to be honest. I want to see how much damage Chronix did in this game.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. I think the key thing is 0-4 and 1. Like, Feko only assisting 1 kill. That's actually less damage on Chronix than I think we were expecting. Millip outputting huge amounts. But, like, when you got a Seraphine, half of the thing is, like, she heals up her allies and everybody else gets kills as well on top of her. So, like, one assist on a game like this tells you how hard it was for Formulation to actually get good fights for themselves.
Definitely, and I want to look at Fluor as well. 16 assists. He got 16 out of those 17 kills. That's because he was constantly roaming around and getting those ganks, and in teamfights as well. Like, you know, we shouldn't ignore how much Fluor did in that game. Just did a phenomenal job on Rakan, and this honestly should show Formulation Gaming. You don't leave Rakan and Ziggs open. You don't just give Rakan and Ziggs to any team, especially ViV Esports and Chronix, because oh my god, that guy is an incredible player on a lot of champions, but especially Ziggs.
I think the unforgivable thing is the fact that Ziggs passed first rotation on red side, like when Rakan's already there. Yeah. We will dive a little bit further into the bans and picks later for our second series. Let's take a look at our play of the game from game 1, ViV versus Formulation. Is it going to be Seraphine just getting destroyed?
I just want to see Seraphine get this. But actually, we take a look at a team fight because that was obviously not an actual play. Here we can see it. Like, you can see ViV Esports, they have hard-focused Veko. Tyrus went in, knocked up Veko, and then Sharks followed up just instantly with his ultimate. And this is exactly how ViV Esports wins the team fight. And I really love that we're looking at this team fight especially because here we can see whatever Formulation Gaming does, they're just not going to win the team fight. And it's like not even close. Like, you see ViV Esports all full HP. Only Millip is at like 70%. But that's what happens if you play your composition correctly and destroy the power pick in the enemy, which is Veko on that Seraphine.
Yeah, just could not really survive through. Even though we were talking about sustain on Seraphine, when everybody's got to be right next to one carry, that Ziggs ultimate is going to do real work. And the rest of the damage from ViV as well, from that ribbon, really carrying strong. That's only game 1, though. It's a best of 3, ViV versus Formulation. We'll be back with game number 2 in just a few minutes.
Frozen over, stuck in time, out of breath in my mind. Is this how it will be when you promise this, you and me? Could it be us? Could it be us till forever? Till forever, forever us? Could it be us? Could it be us till forever? Forever, say you'll be mine. Say that you will, say that you will. Say you'll be mine. Say that you will, say that you will. You will always be the deepest part of me. Heavy hearts healed in time. Frozen over, stuck in time, out of breath in my mind. Is this how it will be when you promise this, you and me? Could it be us? Could it be us till forever? Till forever, forever us? Could it be us? Could it be us till forever?
You ready?
Welcome back, everybody, to the WREC, where we are in between game 1 and game 2 between ViV and Formulation. ViV looking very, very strong after the first game. Their early game, I would say, is like almost impeccable playing around Formulation's attempts at dives.
Yeah, definitely incredible. And I would like rate ViV Esports as a top team right now. Honestly, like after seeing that, I would definitely rate them as one of the top teams, you know, even comparable to Game Lord and WREC. And that's a big thing to say, but it really seems like they're just doing everything correctly. The draft, the macro, the early game, the objectives, the players are incredible, just everything stressed.
Yeah, they've been on the uptick ever since we saw them in January playing under the moniker Free Team, then being picked up by ViV Esports. Let's head over to Stuart, see what Stuart took from game number 1 and what maybe needs to change for game 2.
Thank you very much, Jess. Yes, I've been watching in the sidelines for game number 1. First, we want to talk about target bans. It was really interesting to see the bans coming out from the first stage of the draft. ViV Esports banning champions like Kha'Zix and Thresh, which we don't really see too much, but they're more target bans. And what that does, opens the draft on the blue side. So they first pick Rakan, they go for that draft priority for the duo lane. And even though Formulation pick up the Set and the Fiora, they could just pick Ziggs and Camille straight afterwards. So many power picks were left open in this draft, and you can see that both teams are going for a different sort of play style. When going into the game, ViV Esports went for this perfect team fight comp, which works really well against Formulation, because Formulation wanted to group together with the Seraphine to get all of the shields. But when you're against a Rakan, when you're against a Camille and a Ziggs, when you land that wombo combo on the side of ViV Esports, Formulation just can't do anything about it. And you saw that in the rest of the game, rest of the series as well. And going into the second game, it'd be interesting to see if Formulation stay on the red side or if they move over to the blue side themselves, and how they're going to adapt going into this second game. That's it for the key points for now. Back to Stress and Hells to get us into game number 2.
Totally agree on a lot of the discussion there around team fights. And I mean, you know, your interview with Snitch, he was talking about how teams that are trying to counter the Ziggs should just pick the Ziggs. I don't even really know that I feel like Seraphine's that much of a counter unless Ziggs is like super far behind. I think we saw Seraphine just get one shot by Ziggs. So if she's not alive, how are you countering anything?
Yeah, like that's the thing, right? Ziggs can reach her with his bombs. But if you can survive that, she can heal back up. Her ultimate is amazing. But Seraphine mainly works against melee compositions. That's how her whole kit is revolved. So she doesn't necessarily counter a Ziggs. It's just a good pick. But yeah, we saw last game. She had no chance.
She does not counter this giant area of effect. Bam, instant one shot on the spot. So now we're going to have to see how things change for our second draft. I think the priority, I imagine, will stay similar on the target bans. Like we saw Don's Irelia get banned out. I think that's a fairly straightforward ban. If that second rotation, he hasn't picked it up by then. The Galio and the Gragas priority probably still the same as our first game of the day there as well. But I wouldn't be surprised, considering Formulation are on the red side, to see one of Rakan or Ziggs banned away in this.
They picked the red side again.
Yeah.
And indeed, Rakan and Ziggs, right? Like these are the big ones. These are the big ones, and they are definitely gonna get banned. Like I'm not even gonna think about it. They are gonna get banned by Formulation Gaming, unless you just want to lose again. Either Rakan or the Ziggs is gonna make blood. Like sure, maybe you can counter the Ziggs, right? There is champions that are good against it, but Rakan Ziggs, it's just overstress.
And I think the thing is, like, Rakan works with so many other picks as well that I think so does Ziggs, but I think we saw ViV say, okay, well, we'll prioritize Rakan first because of how good the champion is. A couple of bans already coming through, same as last game on the side of ViV when it comes to that Kha'Zix and that Gragas. They're actually going to focus out Millup's Camille. It did give Formulation quite a bit of trouble up in the top lane, where they tried to dive it about 3 times and it survived a lot, and then really locked down Don from being able to do anything on that assassin.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like Millup as a player has evolved a lot, because in the beginning, I'm going to be honest, we didn't see too much from him. But now, Millup on the Darius, Millup on the Camille, you know, we see him just show an absolute dominant performance, where it even gets so far that people are just target betting against Millup. And honestly, very proud of a player like that, because you now not only have Kranix and Sharks and Fluor and Tyrus, you also have the big Millup to take care of. And so big that they're even not, like, they choose to not ban out the Rakan and Ziggs and just ban out his Camille. And we saw last game how good it was. But then the problem that you have, you can just pick something else.
Yeah, there's a lot still available for that top lane. You know, we're going to look at it. Set, Jace can be up. That is a Vayne ban out. So that tells me Zawa at Formulation are going to pick a lot towards tanks in this game, because typically, like, that's what Vayne deals well with. It's like tanks that can't really close the gap. Galio immediately picked up. That does leave Rakan and Ziggs both available for Formulation if they want it. I feel like you have to take at least one of them here.
Yeah.
And at this point, maybe it's the Ziggs, because Galio could very well be down in that support role.
And Galio does counter Rakan pretty hard, actually. Pretty hard. But not Ziggs you still want to be picking up that Ziggs, right? Because Ziggs is such a power pick to have. Honestly, it feels like both these teams are kind of trying to play mind games. Yet again, we've heard teammates, players say that they've tried this before, but it just didn't work because of how strong Ziggs is. So let's see if Formulation Gaming and ViV are going to be playing these mind games yet again. But no, they do not, right? They know that they cannot pick the Rakan into the Galio because Galio is such a strong counter to it. But they do pick the Ziggs because Ziggs can deal with it fine.
Yeah, I like this. I think this basically is the way that you have to move forward in this draft, in my mind. Looking at how game 1 went, cannot really afford game 2 to do the same, even if it's not quite the strategy that Formulation would be looking at running. So who's going to go diving with the Galio? That's what I always want to look at next. Is Vi is going to go diving with the Galio. Just in time, you got it.
I knew it.
Exactly that. You ult the Ziggs with the Vi. Galio's going to follow up. Yes. And then you've got a late game damage carry yourself with Corki. We didn't see priority in the first game, but the last few weeks, Corki's had a lot of priority here.
And if you counter Ziggs, this is how you do it. You start with the Galio pick, then you basically deny the Rakan. If they pick Rakan, you can counter it. And exactly, Vi. I knew that ViV Esports was going to do it. I know. Tyrus is an incredible Vi player. Vi does what she's supposed to do. And now you not only have the Vi stress, you have the Vi and the Galio. And this is what they had prepared against the Ziggs. And I feel like ViV Esports might as well be able to just completely destroy the Ziggs with the combination. Because the only thing that Ziggs can do is use Stasis and Chant. Besides that, he's just dead. Because he cannot avoid Vi's ultimate. He cannot avoid it with his satchel charge. He just cannot.
Yeah, he can't avoid once it locks on. You're going to have to deny it a little bit. One thing I think you can do here is when you have so much towards like single target crowd control, like the likes of a Vi, bring a secondary threat because you can't ult 2 people. So in this case, potentially Kamau on the Fiora is going to play as a second carry here later on into the game. Was a struggle in the last game though. Kamau's Fiora did not have the same impact that they would have liked to have had, and the impact that, for instance, the Kha'Zix has had for Kamau. Rakan banned, Ahri banned, all the way through the second phase. We're seeing some of those targets and some of the picks from the last game taken away.
Yeah, definitely. And Lee Sin is still open, however. Although I feel like you don't necessarily want to be picking Lee Sin into the composition of ViV Esports because they do have the Corki with the package. They have the Vi that becomes unstoppable, right? So Lee Sin actually losing his priority. We saw in the beginning of Esports that Lee Sin was an absolute priority pick, but not anymore with the current draft. And yeah, ViV Esports banning out the Aurelia. Yet again, just a target ban, right? They just don't want to deal with it, as you mentioned earlier. And Garen ban from Formulation Gaming. Now the picks are going to be very interesting. Ooh.
Whoa, that's a Leona picked up. And if we're assuming it's Galio and Corki, I mean, Leona can help peel Ziggs when Vi gets there, but I don't know that that's all that useful. Leona's best at going in, like with the ultimate. Zenith played in, get the stun on target. So maybe they're trying to follow Kranix on this Corki.
Oh, I don't like it. Like I don't like the Leona pick right here. And yeah, Diana coming in from ViV, an incredibly strong team fighting champion with that ultimate, right? Especially after following up the Corki package. To me, it already looks like ViV Esports is going to be the one dominating the objectives. And we saw how good they can play around these types of compositions where they basically never shake hands and go for everything. So unless Formulation Gaming picks a super strong early game champion, yeah, the Darius, right? Like this is what I mean. Millip is not going to get counted. He's just going to pick the Darius and do the exact same. So what the hell was Formulation Gaming going to pick into this stress?
Yeah, there are so many threats on the side of ViV. Formulation, they like their AD assassins. If they go towards Zed, again, that's one option. I'm looking at what else is available. There's not that many picks that work in this situation. Yeah. Maybe like I don't know what else Don has. The only other AD picks are like Yasuo if they want it, but it doesn't really fit. I wouldn't really want to play. Okay, Riven. I'm forgetting the obvious one that people play. So likely to be Riven mid lane, Fiora jungle set top lane, I guess. Or, you know, we can mix top and mid, however it works. I just don't know how this Leona plays into it. I think there are too many problems for Leona to actually defend against or engage against. And there are way too many damage threats from ViV to get onto Feko, to get onto Kamau and actually take them out before they can ever really get that damage down.
Yeah, exactly. And especially with Leona, you're like, you know, your ultimate hits multiple enemies, but you're never going to be able to hit multiple enemies because ViV Esports is all over the place. With the Vi, with the Diana, with the Darius here, and then the Galio ulting, and then also the Corki with the package. Also, regarding the last pick of Formulation Gaming, I had absolutely no idea what they would pick. That's why I gave it to you. But like, honestly, like I feel they've been outdrafted severely again. You know, maybe they'll surprise us, but to me, it looks like ViV Esports does have the response to Ziggs, and we're going to be seeing it in the game very shortly. This one is going to be a banger, Stress.
I think that's the funny thing about Formulation is every time I think they've lost draft is always when something just like clicks in a way that I either haven't seen before or didn't like understand as much in game. Maybe there's a possibility that Don like goes off on this Riven and they're able to get team fights to work, but I just think ViV have too many ways of dealing with the likes of the Ziggs in team fights. We're going to have to see how it plays out on the Rift, though. Formulation have been very good at team fighting historically. ViV looking very good in game 1, playing defensively. And this Galio gives them the same option, right? As soon as you have that ultimate available after that early roaming phase, ultimate's going to allow them to cross the map as well.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, like, I personally think Formulation has no chance to win this game. Obviously, they do, but that's what I think looking at this draft. And they already go for a gank, just super aggressive from both supports. Not happening too much right there. And this is also going to be the battle of supports, Stress, because we saw Fluor and Zaur. Both of them like to roam around a lot. And who's going to be getting the most kills? Like, that's the real question, right? 93%, by the way.
That was 50-50 after game 1. I feel like I've seen this mid-game story before, mid-lane story before, I should say, where both supports come to mid lane. It happened in game 1. Sharks actually got the push and got the plant to get the vision over the early game, so they know exactly where Kamau is. They can kind of read where Tyrus is as well, as there's a lot of trading in middle lane. As this early game, bottom lane exchange, as Fekko is incredibly low. Zawa's gone in, only level 1 though, so doesn't have access to the crowd control. We already saw that he'd picked up that I think a Shield of Daybreak, that W that is going to be able to keep him alive a little bit stronger.
And I want to talk about a very important early game thing right here. Historically, we know that Tyrus on the Vi likes to do like a full clear in the jungle, which he's not doing right now, by the way.
No, he's around this jungle, or the river, I should say, as Kamau has been caught. Damage comes out. Tyrus gets himself a little shield, will back away, but already trying to force damage down onto the jungle here from Kamau.
And I like that Tyrus is changing up his game right here, because like every game that he played Vi pretty much, he went for a full jungle clear. And I feel like Formulation Gaming knew that and they were readying for it. Because Kim Yao was going for the gank, but now Tyrus is like, okay, whatever, I'm not gonna do it.
UI trying to get damage to stick, has the ignite available. Like, they can get this dive to work if Kamau can get there in time, but there's no minions under. And Sharks knows they put the ward down and they're able to defend again. ViV have played so well against the early game aggression from Formulation now 2 games in a row.
Yeah, definitely. ViV Esports just doing the right thing constantly. We see that both teams are kind of shaking hands in their jungle right now. I really like how both teams played this out. Both teams have amazing vision. If we look around the map, right? Formulation Gaming, amazing vision on the top side. ViV Esports, amazing vision on the bottom side. Both teams are just shaking hands on the blue buffs. They're like, okay, whatever. Each one of us takes our own blue buffs. As you can see, both teams exactly the same goal. This is like a mirrored matchup, Stress.
Yeah, it's so close, but I mean, for Formulation side, as Don is maybe going to find Sharks if he can get the stun, has the ultimate available, wins, slash! Is going to slash through for the first blood, as that's Formulation with the early game lead they did not get in game 1.
They got it right there. D-Don with the ultimate, getting the quick kill on Sharks. And it's important that he got that kill because he's going to have his ultimate available for the first objective again. He used it very quickly, and they may as well go for this gank, Stress.
Yeah, this time Millip pushed back, doesn't have that barrier. If they can get the minion wave under the tower, they played around it last time. Millip now has to be careful. Doesn't quite get the solar flare because of the flash. But again, they're trying to eat through as much utility in those summoner spells as they can before these first fights.
Exactly, and yet again, Zaur is gonna have his ultimate nearly up before the first objective, and Millip lost his flash. They're doing Formulation Gaming doing an incredibly good job burning those important abilities, getting those kills when they can. And as you can see, Formulation Gaming being ahead by 1,000 gold because of those early things right there.
Yeah, it's this is the Formulation that we've come to expect a little bit more. Where like they're very good at setting up objectives beforehand. Don. I don't know that you're in a position to be taunting, my man. Like you're a game down here in a basically a game that'll send you out. That's a good pullback into the suplex from UI as Millip now has the grand challenge. It has been thrown down. Millip gets his ultimate absorbed by UI, and that's Leona picking up the kill, not where the gold wanted to be going, but nevertheless Formulation have the man advantage now going into this first big set of fights of the game. Fekko has his ult, but he's all the way down in bottom lane.
Corky with a package, by the way.
This is dangerous. Yeah, Zawa forced to flash away as Vi will come through with the Assault and Battery. Solar Flare does land to buy a little bit of time. Don trying to get there, but Formulation, they're pushing bot lane in exchange for this. They had the setup. They had Darius dead for this Rift Herald, but they didn't commit from the bot lane.
Yeah, no. This is not how you do it, Formulation Gaming. They did have the advantage, and while it's really good to be pushing that bot lane turret, they basically just gave a free kill to ViV Esports, which they shouldn't have. They could have just given the Rift Herald and given the turret to the Ziggs. Why did they give that kill? Because now they're very likely going to be losing the Dragon as well.
Yeah, that feels weird to me. It's like, you've already got that bot lane turret. So maybe a little bit of a misread and miscommunication between Formulation when it came to where their priority was going to go. They'll clear out mid lane. That's going to allow them to cut down towards the Dragon. I don't think they can rush this down in time. Tyraz will get there quite quickly.
ViV Esports is doing the same thing, by the way, Stress. Now it's actually Sharks. Oh, no, it is not. He is rotating, so they're looking for the fight near the Dragon. They don't have the Corki package this time, however.
Yeah, they dropped Rift Herald in mid. That means that Tyraz is going to be late to this. The Smite's going to go down. It's going to be a back away. I don't even know that this is going to end up worth it for ViV because they can't get the damage down onto this turret behind it. But if they can get the engage, maybe they can. Solar Flare locks one in place. That's a big Mega Inferno Bomb as Formulation have defended the play mid lane, and off a weird play in the Rift Herald, Formulation have denied the attempt from ViV.
And Formulation Gaming with a huge comeback in this game. Now they are the ones being ahead by 2,500 gold. And if we look at like 1.5 minutes ago, they were the ones that were behind. And if we look at this replay, this was after, like, ViV Esports cannot do anything right now. And Tyraz just getting chain CC'd to death. I mean, look at him taking every single thing, basically being stunned down for like 5 seconds. And that is the problem. After you do your initial engage with Vi, if you get chain CC'd, and that's what the Leona is so good at from Formulation Gaming, they were able to get that kill for free, Stress.
Yeah, Leona brings some of the highest frequency of crowd control when you look at it. So many of her abilities will interrupt or stun or all of those types of things that one person struggles to get away from Leona. Leona struggles when she has to deal with multiple threats, but anytime that Tyraz is going to ult in, that's what we were kind of talking about with the peel on the fight. Millip knows that there's multiple people there, knows that he got the connection on the brush on Decimate, and will back away. No objectives up, so I'm not expecting a fight in the next couple of seconds as both teams are going to reset.
Yeah, definitely. And Formulation Gaming just taking a massive W right there, being ahead so much gold. And especially Vecco being super ahead right now. He got that bot lane turret. He got the first tower gold. And another thing that I want to talk about, if there is no fight, but there is one.
Should back away because Kamau surely knows that Tyraz, and of course with the Galio, the ultimate's not available. I was going to say that they can play around Floor's ult, but if they had the timer on that, maybe they can do it as Don is going to try and go aggressive onto Sharks as there is an engaged top side. The ultimate comes out from Diana, the ultimate comes out as well from Riven as there was a disengaged top lane. No full commit from either side, no deaths, and everybody's still alive.
Yeah, and we have 2 exhausts on Formulation Gaming's side, by the way. Vecco and Sour have the exhaust. And trying to think about why they would do that. Obviously, against the Diana, you want to use exhaust against Diana, but who else do they need that exhaust against? I feel like it's maybe a bit of an overkill. We're going to have another fight right here.
Yeah, UI is going to go in, gets the suplex, but he's the one in trouble now. Flash to try and get the damage in position. He's going to say, get over here and take out Floor. As there's another kill going down. This time it was Kamau picking one up. There's an exchange in return, though, as Sharks picks up a kill, but it's 2 kills in favor of Formulation Gaming. Oh, they're looking for more as Don couldn't quite get the engage onto Kranix. Does force the flash. That's a big cooldown gone, and it'll back away.
Wow, Millip doing a great job, but UI doing an even better job. And they may go for this dive as well. They're just desperately looking for that Baron lane turret in this game. And the next Rift Herald is spawning as well. Yet again, Corki's going to have a package. And did the Corki just not pick up a package? But first of all, let's look at this fight. And honestly, I feel like Floor did make a mistake by picking up a stone plate. You do not want to be picking up a stone plate against a set. We saw that happen last time, right? We saw that happen, Stress. Where a set, I don't recall which player it was, but he basically nearly one-shotted the entire enemy team because a Garen used the stone plate. So right now, I'm not quite sure whether or not Corki took his package. If we can look at Corki right now, he didn't. Corki did not take his package.
Yeah, right when an objective's coming up, that's not a real thing that you can make the mistake over is ViV are trying to back themselves away as Don is trying to close the distance. Sharks is desperate to get away, but the Ziggs ultimate is going to cut them in half, and Galio goes in, but that's put Floor in a really tough situation. Kamau couldn't quite get the block on Floor's Justice Punch, and now going to try and cut behind the tower as Rift Herald's pushing in. They have the Ziggs. It will be enough to take it down with the Satchel Charge if they can just get it in position. It's going to fall. That's a beautiful taunt, though, from Floor.
There he goes.
There goes the set ultimate as UI is going to cut through him again, and now the engage is on to Miller, but gets the heal from Decimate, but he is not going to be able to survive through enough. Doesn't get the execute off as well, and we thought the composition was a little wonky from Formulation, but they are dominating this early game.
They're definitely making it work with their composition. And like UI is such an incredible set player. He's constantly waiting for the Galio to use his stone plate. As we look at this replay, Galio stone plate, boom, he goes in with it. And the later we get into this game, the bigger this damage will get. And honestly, I just feel you have to sell that stone plate. You cannot build a stone plate against UI on that set because he's constantly focusing on it. And Vecco, that early game turret that he got is really proving worthy right now. And now we can see Kranix with the package, but no, it's way too late. You've already lost the two main objectives. 7,000 gold behind, and this is a wasted package, Stress.
This is an odd timing from Kranix. He's likely to set up this top lane play and hope that it's back available, but I think it's going to be mistimed now. It's going to be desynced for the next set of objectives. So really odd kind of mistake. I'm going to call it a mistake from Kranix because it's such a big power play, power tool, and it times out, or at least he has to use it to get it away from the fight. So that's such a big factor that it's basically the equivalent of an ultimate not being available.
Yeah, it is the equivalent of an ultimate not being available. And yeah, I cannot really cherry talk it. Indeed, it's maybe desynced for the next objective as well. So Formulation Gaming knows that as well, right? They know that the cooldown is 150 seconds. I believe it's 150 seconds. So they could choose to rush the next objective. And if Formulation fights against ViV without the Corki package, they just win. It's as simple as that. They just win right now in this moment of the game. The Corki package is the massive thing that ViV Esports have. They have the Galio ultimate, they have the Vi ultimate, and then they have the Corki package to go right through the fight. And they need it.
Yeah, and you can see Formulation, the fact that they can cross from bot to mid so quickly, thanks to that Cloud Drake, thanks to the vision control they have, means that they can they looked at a play against Miller in that bottom lane and they went, no, it's not on. Okay, let's defend mid. And this Corki does not push quite as fast as Fekko clears. Like, Fekko can just clear that out, even from a distance with that ultimate. It's one of the real terrors of playing against the Sixes. You can never get that push onto mid lane.
Yeah, definitely. It's you can never get that mid lane turret anymore against the Six. Formulation Gaming were able to get that mid lane turret with the Rift Herald, and right now Formulation is just in such a strong position. It's going to be really hard for ViV Esports to get control in this game. Also, vision control, and we know how good Formulation Gaming is in it. When Formulation Gaming is ahead in a game, when they have a mid lane turret, we saw it against Na'Vi as well, you cannot do anything against them. So it's going to be an incredibly hard task for ViV Esports to get back the control in this game, to get back the vision game. And Formulation Gaming is already starting to look for something right here.
Oh, they're right around the corner. ViV are going to face check in. Solar Flare into the Mega Inferno Bomb. They haven't got the damage to stick down onto Kranix yet, but they have taken Floor out. And that is Formulation using their vision control exactly how we've come to expect from them.
There it is, just as we talk about it. Formulation Gaming's vision game, and now with the Ziggs, you can see how fast Ziggs takes those turrets. With the Satchel Charge as well, boom, easy turret. And a Baron is spawning, which I feel they're not going to go for this time. They're not going to do the same mistake as last game, even though they're up against a bit of a weaker composition during Baron fights, but the next Dragon is spawning up as well. And Corki's package should be coming very soon. I hope for them that it will come before the first Dragon, but that is basically the only chance that ViV Esports has to potentially win a fight, Stress. There it is, the Corki package.
Okay, so I was a little off on my timing of it being desynced, but this is the vision control.
Yeah, exactly, and this is the vision control. Fluor walking in, Kranix, Tyrus, they escape, but Fluor is dead. Like, even though he's the tanky support, he's just dead. He cannot do anything against that. Formulation Gaming just really utilizing the advantage that they have in this game, and then putting it into a third. And this time Kranix did pick up the package. Oh, no, sorry, that was a replay. Yeah, now Kranix is picking up the package. And yeah, this is it. This is it for ViV Esports. This is all or nothing. You have to go for it. They have a beautiful ward sitting all the way in the top right there. This is the team fight that they have to win, Stress. So let's see if they're actually going to do it.
Kamau just picked up red, so is going to head down towards the fight now as Dragon is spawning in 2 seconds' time. They've seen Corki show in the middle lane. That package is going to give him increased movement speed to be able to get there. And there is a ward in the back of this pit, so I think Formulation can't really afford to commit here. Kamau is going to be the one to clear that ward out. They've pulled the Dragon out. There's another ward goes over. They'll clear that one out too.
As well.
Yeah, the Dragon will die quite quickly, but I mean, Formulation have to be careful that there's no rush on here for an engage. 3,000 health is a little too healthy for Tyrus to come over the wall. Oh, that's a good stun onto 2, and they're going to get the damage down. Floor once again finds himself pulled out of the fight. It's stolen though by Tyrus, and Tyrus is trying to get away. Kranix has already backed himself out. Tyrus with the Guardian Angel isn't going to pop thanks to the shield from the passive. Oh, it's all on. Millip gets one with the execution before he falls. It's a double kill though for Kamau. 2 members, I say, of ViV still alive, but Formulation going to try and rush down that Baron.
ViV Esports did steal the Dragon, but at what cost? And now Formulation can go for the Baron. Let's take a look if they do the thing again, right? Where they don't take a lot of damage. And Veko is doing it as well.
No, he's so amazing.
But yeah, as we look into this replay, we can see the Corki package was just not that valuable, right? Like, it just didn't do too much. He came from the behind of the bush. Tyrus doing an amazing job stealing away the Dragon, but Formulation Gaming showing their superiority with their composition. Kimi Yao on a level 13 double buffed Fiora. You just cannot deal with that stress. And right there we can see Formulation winning the team fight very comfortably, and they were able to secure the Baron as well. So now Formulation Gaming is going to be pushing those turrets to secure this victory.
Yeah, Formulation have a lot of push potential. They have a lot of like strength on the side lane here. If that Fiora goes into side lane with Baron minions, like towers will melt in front of them very, very quickly. And you know, we came into games saying, oh, don't know how Formulation are actually going to make this composition work for themselves. But Don has had a lot of damage. Kamau has been great, but I think UI has played way better than we saw in game 1. Like, UI was able to get fights started with Zawa and actually make sure that the crowd control stuck. Ooh, Don may be in trouble, trying to get away. Can he flash out? No, because he's not available. Stasis is going to buy him time, and UI is here now as well. They're going to go back aggressive as Tyrus is getting melted through. Forced to stasis on himself, and there's the apprehend that connects from Millip. Damage down on top of it as well, and they just cannot get the damage onto Formulation. ViV, they had the numbers advantage, but they can't get it. This is going to be the end of the game.
This is game over. They're going to get 3 turrets. They're going to push the game, and there is even more happening right now.
Yeah, Kranix gets caught out by his tower, but look at how far ahead Formulation Gaming are. The Nexus goes golden, but it doesn't even matter. There's too many minions, too many Baron Duck players, and that is Formulation evening up the series 1 game apiece.
I was wrong, Stress. At the beginning of this game, I said, the game is already over. But no, it wasn't. Formulation Gaming actually dominated, to my surprise. They pulled off their composition perfectly. And this, wow, the 3rd game, man. Ooh, I'm sweating already, and we still have Game Lord and Rix coming later today, and I'm already at this stage. This is gonna be crazy, Stress.
Yeah, this is a great day of games. I mean, I was right there with you with like, I don't know how they can keep the Ziggs alive, but you know, I kind of underestimated how well UI's Set would play. I think so many of these fights were kind of denied by Set that there was no time that I felt that Feko was actually in trouble. Unlike game 1, where his Seraphine just got removed from the fight instantly. This time, I don't even know whether he died. I didn't take a look at the kill counter, but I mean, he did a great job of staying alive.
Yeah, UI did an amazing job. Also doing an amazing job constantly countering that stone plate, right? Like Darius, Millip on the Darius and Fluor on the Galio. They both had stone plates, and UI was constantly waiting for it. Every single team fight, he was waiting for it. Whenever there was a stone plate being used, boom, that's when he went in. That's when he took him and suplexed him into the enemy team. So if there was a good scenario, he would have dealt so much damage with it. Basically, they couldn't use their stone plates. They couldn't use their stone plates effectively. We saw them being very careful with that. Just UI showing an amazing presence in the game. And if it wasn't just damage-wise, just showing that he's there and you cannot do this against me. Because if you do it, I will destroy you. And if you don't do it, my Ziggs will destroy you. So phenomenal job by UI in this game, Strats.
I think we saw the difference, though, in the draft priority payoff is like the Galio being available. I feel like ViV went, oh, well, we have to pick it then. And then they picked it and struggled with it because this Galio, as strong as it is, we just saw Set go, okay, well, I'm just going to lock you in place and you can't really do too much more. I don't feel like Floor actually had the same impact in this game that he did on the Rakan from game 1.
Yeah, definitely. They thought that they could counter out that composition with the Galio, but it didn't work out for them, right? It totally didn't work out for them. He went for the tanky Galio, which UI absolutely destroyed with the Set. And Feko, 208. easy. No deaths. Dawn 406. Kim Yao 406. Just a very clean game from the carries from Formulation Game. And as you can see, everyone doing their part, doing a lot of damage. And Tyrus actually sitting at 3.9 thousand damage. Tyrus was struggling a lot into this composition stress.
Yeah, really struggled. I think I wouldn't mind Vi having, kind of low damage on single target if all of that damage has stuck onto Fekko and got a bunch of kills, but it hasn't. That was the problem with this composition, is they never found that engage from the Vi, and Formulation played very well around that concept of single target engage getting denied, and I mean, Formulation, they hang on in this series. They go 1-1 here, and I'm so glad we get to see a game 3, because I think now the draft is going to adapt again. I think Set probably going to get banned out by ViV this time, or at least pick for themselves, because it was too good. And Play of the Game, I'm sure, is going to at least involve a Set ultimate, maybe on somebody that got a stone plate, because so many of the fights went exactly the same way.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the play of the game. There was so much happening that last game. And it was the team fight that ViV Esports could have potentially won. They did steal the dragon, but here we can see. I actually want to look at Kim Yao right here. He's playing the Fiora, just chasing down whoever he's onto and taking 0 damage. He has the double buff, level 13 Fiora. Whatever happens, he's not gonna die. He's gonna get all of those kills. Millup desperate to trying to win this fight, but there it is. Like, just the composition from Formulation Gaming, all of them were strong. You just lose the team fight.
Yeah, they had so many threats that there was just a lot of damage, a lot of crowd control in that fight, and it was difficult for ViV to actually hold on. And ViV and Formulation are going to game 3. We will see who advances to the lower bracket finals, which will take place tomorrow. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes to round out this series. Welcome back, everybody, to the WREC, where we are in ViV Esports versus Formulation Game 3. We're very hyped after a very close series. Like, Game 1 was ViV being dominant, Game 2 was Formulation kind of doing the same kind of thing. I wonder what's going to happen now in Game number 3.
I wonder what's going to happen. And that's why Game 3s are always amazing stress, right? First one team wins and then the other one. And as you said, it was actually quite similar. Both teams showed like a similar way of winning the game, just very confidently taking the right objectives, making the right plays in the early game. And then the other team really being left alone, not being able to do anything. So as we look at this on social media, here are the WRC champion stats so far. And Fiora with a 72% ban rate. 96.7% pick and ban rate. We remember it was one game where she wasn't picked. I don't quite remember which one it was, but there was one game where she wasn't picked. Only one.
Yeah, one game. But I think in this series especially, we can just like forget most of that and just put a big picture of Ziggs. Because I think that's been like part of the reason why Game 1 and Game 2 was so one-sided. That was a similarity between both games. That's my analysis, but that's why I'm not here for analysis. So someone who is here for analysis is Stuart. Let's hear his thoughts on Game number 2.
Stress the key points for the third and final game. We saw in the second game that Formulation did adapt to their bans. They didn't ban out the Galio and instead kind of baited ViV Esports in a way to pick the Galio, which Stress mentioned ever so slightly. And that means that they were able to pick the Ziggs up for themselves, which is going to be really, really interesting to see if they do the same things. And ViV Esports went for the exact same bans, you know, from game number 1 and game number 2. But I think game number 3, they're going to be changing up a few things. And when it got into the game itself, Formulation did really, really well to split up ViV Esports. You'll see in these team fights when you watch it back, those team fights were very, very split. ViV Esports were never really together and they weren't able to get onto the Ziggs. This is great for champions like Leona, Set, Riven, that were all picked for the side of Formulation. And then the last point is the vision control. When Formulation do get ahead, they play the vision control game perfectly. I said it earlier on in the broadcast. I think Hells and Stress both mentioned it as well during the game. So if Formulation could get ahead in this third and final game, I've got my eyes on them, and I got my eyes on that vision control as well to see if they can close it out. But we'll see who's going to make it through to the lower bracket final as we head back to Stress and Hells.
Thanks, Stuart. Yeah, we are going to keep our eyes on that. We're all celebrating, ready to go. Get stretches done for Game 3.
I'm preparing myself for this game.
Yeah, basically, like let's like increase the weight and go for personal best on this kind of rep for Game number 3, because that's what I'm hoping for. And I think so. We were told by production that ViV choose blue side. I think as Formulation, you have to ban Ziggs. I know Rakan got through in the first game, but I actually think that you've shown that you can leave enough open to have other support picks. And I think if Ziggs is off the board, it becomes a totally different bot lane game.
Just stop trying to counter Ziggs, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Just stop trying to do it. Play the game normally, ban it out, and whatever. You're like, there's so many different champions, but Ziggs is one of those that you just don't want to deal with it. Just ban it out and you're done with it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, what else do you do? Like invest in 3 lockets and just like, oh, he's pushed ult. everybody use locket and absorb the damage. No, that's not realistic. Don't do that. That's a terrible idea. However, ViV, same ban maintains with Kha'Zix. The next one would be Gragas if it's the same as Game 1 and Game 2 with the Camille taken from Formulation. That was the adaptation after Game 1. We'll see whether they continue to adapt for Game number 2. I think Ziggs has to raise up because ViV, I imagine in this point are like, okay, we just need to get that for ourselves, deny it from Formulation.
Yeah, and I would be very surprised if the Ziggs doesn't get banned here. Like, I would be so surprised. Like, Formulation has to ban the Ziggs here, right? Because, yeah, actually ViV bans the Ziggs. They don't want to first pick Ziggs. I find that interesting. Now they're leaving like a target ban open for Formulation Gaming. Formulation Gaming can now basically choose who to ban because Ziggs is already banned. They're not forced to ban it anymore.
Yeah, and you know the Galio wasn't the first pick problem here. So maybe you ban the Rakan and stop ViV from getting that. And then we look towards like, okay, it's going to be a Fiora, it's going to be a Set, it's going to be... So they maintain the Vayne. I mean, we've seen Kranix, I believe, play Vayne in previous weeks for ViV, and it's looked very strong. The funny thing was, Formulation, if I remember rightly, was Vayne banned in Game 1 or was it left open? I can't quite recall. I think Set
in Game 1 it was left open, I believe.
Okay, yeah, Set going to get picked up for ViV. We saw how good UI Set was in the last game, and I think that's a really important denial there from Formulation.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see that ViV Esports is actually picking Sett above the Galio or the Rakan even. Rakan is being left open. Yet again, these are the mind games, right? Because there are some counters to the Rakan, which exactly is the Galio, as we can see right here. So now ViV Esports picking up Rakan is, you know, it may not happen because they're up against that Galio who can deny the Rakan.
But Formulation, since January, have been playing Feko on Galio as a hybrid kind of like carry engage champion from the Dragon lane. So we'll see. They have just a slightly different edge that other teams haven't. And I think with this Fiora picked up, gives them a really strong carry as well if they can get that to work.
Yeah, and I feel like as ViV Esports right there, you cannot pick Rakan because you're also up against the Fiora, who does have the right post, which can also counter up the Rakan. Formulation Gaming is basically saying, pick the Rakan, I dare you to pick it. And ViV Esports actually picks the Garen. And this was banned away in the second game. And Millip is going to be playing the Garen this time, Stress.
Yeah, Millip is going to pick the Garen. Random question, if this is out of nowhere. I'm wondering, since Yuumi is available, if Yuumi is on a Galio and Galio ults, does she come along for the raid as well? Okay, that's one. Yep. We'll take a look at the bans, because remember, game 1, ViV banned out the Yuumi, so it's possible that they'll go for it. Darius picked up from the top lane as well. We saw the Corki picked up, although I didn't feel like Kranix on Corki had the same impact as in the Ziggs in previous games.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to talk about the Yuumi that you mentioned earlier as well. I honestly don't quite understand why there's really no priority on the Yuumi. She's not being picked or banned too often. We only saw her being banned as like the last champion. Yuumi is powerful now. She got a massive buff and she works incredibly well with a lot of different champions. Yeah. I don't quite understand why these teams are not picking Yuumi, especially up against champions like the Ziggs, for example, who likes enemies to be sticking together, because Yuumi, basically, like, she is essentially not there because she goes into a champion and it becomes 4 champions. So Orianna ban coming through from ViV Esports as well. They just don't want to be dealing with that AoE magic damage threats.
Yeah, they want to remove that, even though we know that Galio could very well be playing from that dragon carry role. Yeah, Nunu banned away. Now, Nunu is very good at denying fights in the sense of, like, he puts down absolute zero, people can't cross it to get to the backline. So Formulation with something that does look strange, but I like, we've seen teams play compositions that are like anti-engage, and that's where it makes sense. Riven banned away as well is going to take away another strong carry threat. There's a bit of a mismatch in composition right now from my side from ViV, though. Like, Sett and Corki and Garen are all good individually, but like, they need somebody to be able to kind of start a fight as well. Sett can do some crowd control, but I want to see where they round out the rest of this composition.
Yeah, like a massive engaged jungler. Yet again, the Vi, right? We know about the Vi. This is potentially going to be a champion that's going to be picked up by Tyrus again. Although it is a bit dangerous against Formulation Gaming, because Galio, you know, he does good against those types of champions. Darius can survive a Vi engage. And then also Fiora with the Rai post, of course. So, you know, yet again, Formulation Gaming challenging ViV Esports to pick the champion, like they challenged them to pick the Rakan. ViV Esports didn't fall for it. But are they going to fall for the Vi trap? That's
I wonder. That's a brand. Likely the bot lane carry then. Obviously some flexibility, going to bring them magic damage, AoE in the fights. That's one thing with Sett and Garen. They stick pretty close together. So we'll see how that goes through the rest of it. That Senna ban is to take away the ability to play the fasting Senna with the Galio that we've seen in previous metas gone by. Now we'll see where ViV go.
Man, I love Feko. I love this guy so much. He just picks these champions that are so fun to watch, right? Like, Brand is also going to be so fun to watch. And Janna combined with the Corki stress. That's a strong composition right there.
Yeah, that's a lot of disengage coming through from the Janna. So they're actually looking to absorb the engage from this Galio and the Fiora and then say, okay, let's disengage and reset and play for like longer distance fights. Something that Garen's not so good at, but nevertheless, we'll see whether ViV can make that work from their bot lane duo.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, Darius the Lee Sin. Finally, we see a Lee Sin being picked. The strong early game jungler. He's going to be ganking constantly. And yet again, ViV Esports has the composition to get the advantage during the objectives. Yet again, are they going to be able to make it work this time? Like, it's all about the Corki packages, but they also have the Lee Sin this time and Sett. These are all very strong champions, especially if you when you're up against a champion like a Brand, who is more of a scaling champion in the late game.
Yes.
He needs those items to scale up, right? So yet again, the first objective is going to be very important, and there we see it. A power pick coming from Formulation. The Diana, incredible late game champion as well, incredible team fighting champion.
So that leaves us in a situation where it's likely Feko on that brand with the Galio going over to Zawa. As you said, that Diana kind of rounds out a little bit of the early game team fighting with Darius. So there's maybe a little bit of difficulty getting fights started with initial engage. Whereas on the side of ViV, like they have the Lee Sin if they want to get picks. They have the ability to disengage with it as well, and with the Janna. So it's all about that execution on these early fights. Formulation, once again, they're bringing us something a little bit different from that bottom lane. We've seen Brand in previous metas. It's nothing absolutely new, but still, it's the first time that we're really seeing it out of Formulation.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like looking at these compositions, it's all about the early game for ViV Esports, dominating the jungle, dominating the objectives. But once we reach the late game, when Veko on that brand starts to come online, when we have the Diana as well, I feel that Formulation Gaming may take this one. So is ViV Esports going to be able to apply enough pressure in the early game to make sure they shut down that strong late game composition from Formulation Gaming? We'll find out in this game, Stress.
It felt like they could, looking at game one. This series has kind of been dictated by like a team taking an advantage in the early game and being able to hold it and build on that advantage throughout game one and game two. There haven't been that many opportunities for either team to come back in these games. So if they can hold on to it, ViV will advance through the lower bracket, put themselves in the lower bracket final tomorrow. Whoever wins this series will face the loser of our second series of the day of REC versus Game Lord. Some tough competition there, but it's all about this one game now between ViV and Formulation. Win and you make it to tomorrow, lose and you go home. Let us know who you think is going to win this game in chat. Let us know on social media as well, because this is another hotly contested game. Again, supports roaming to mid lane, or at least it's Zawa trying to push out that bottom lane into mid lane.
And the chat is still going for ViV Esports, actually. 68% for ViV Esports. And Millup is trying to look for something against UI. Now it's actually Millup on the set. Last game it was UI. UI will know how to play against the set, right? We saw how good he was at the set. So if you're good at a champion, you obviously know how to play against a champion as well. And while this little fight is happening in the mid, and I want to talk about Tyrus on Lee Sin as well. I haven't seen Tyrus on Lee Sin before. I may be wrong, but I personally haven't seen it before. How is Tyrus going to play on that early game champion?
We'll watch that as Flower drops low. Did absorb the ignite from Zawa. Tyrus is Lee Sin. The best Lee Sins are always the ones that are just active, constantly doing something. And now going for the invade after he's gone red buff to blue buff. We'll see whether Kimau actually, responds with a blue buff invade of himself. As
they spotted Lee Sin.
Yeah, and Fiora should be spotted on that ward as well. May very well have skirted around the edge of it, as they haven't been able to deny Tyrus the invade. So now it's kind of just down to come out to make up for lost time. He's on crab for the moment.
Ooh, imagine if he had lost that one. That would have been disastrous. If the Galio stole that away from him, he would have lost a lot of experience and gold. We can actually see Kim Yao is not going for the invade. ViV Esports is going to be able to deny that invade, and they're going to be able to secure that side of the jungle as well. Tyrus getting 3 sides of the jungle.
Oh, Kamara doesn't know that he's spotted on a ward now, and that means Tyrus can go aggressive. Don is there. That was a really tense moment, because I thought Kamara had already showed on Shug's ward, and Shugs went over, warded the blue buff. Real advantage coming out from the jungle, utilizing this Lee Sin's early game to be able to take 3 buffs. And UI doesn't have an ultimate available, so unlikely to get a kill here through the barrier, but just puts damage down.
Definitely. And if we look into the gold amount, it's actually nearly the same right now. But ViV Esports is very likely going to come on top a little bit, because as we can see, Tyrus on the Lee Sin is 200 gold ahead of the Fiora, and we have a fight, but no real fight. It's just a little bit of a skirmish. But Tyrus is doing really good in the jungle, and Zawa is waiting for it.
Yeah, Zawa has actually come up here to compensate a little bit. Like I feel like they sensed that Tyrus would make it faster than Kimau. Now they both have level 5.
Joining the party.
Yeah, Kimau here as well. Millup, he's got to know, right? He goes aggressive. Can they get the crowd control to land? Suplex is going to come through. Millup has created enough space. Zawa now drops low. Kick doesn't get the kill. And if Kimau can buy enough time, or even go aggressive for a bust from afar, picks up first blood once again for Formulation.
It's an absolutely disaster for ViV Esports, losing the early game already on the Lee Sin. That's amazingly played by Formulation Gaming right there. Milup had an amazing ultimate, and we can see Fekko actually wasting his ultimate right here, which is a very dangerous thing to do before the first dragon, especially up against ViV, who have the stronger composition. Like, sure, you're winning the early game, but now they've wasted the brand ultimate, which is such a huge ability during team fights. So first objective fight is gonna, I feel, may even be the game decided already, Stress.
Yeah, and one of the things actually about brand Galio is like Zawa spent so much time out of lane. He's only just got his ultimate. He's only just, you know, active on the map in that fashion. And Fekko is down in gold by a decent amount. He's had to compensate by trying to pick up a little bit where he can, and down in experience. Like, Kranix has been level 6 for a while, as this top engage is going to be attempted by Formulation. They managed to get the apprehend into the taunt and rip Milup from the top lane under his tower. Formulation looking really strong, focusing out Milup again.
Exactly. Formulation Gaming don't want to deal with that early game composition for ViV Esports. They go for the gank in the top lane with 3 people, easily securing the kill in the middle. Whatever, they lose Dragon, but they're taking a turret. And this is how you play a composition that cannot fight during the first dragon. As you can see, Kranix on the Corki picking up the package right now, but Formulation Gaming is trying to rush down the Rift Herald before they even have a chance to go in.
Yeah, they're going to try it. Milup is going to be here as well as Kranix is too. There's the package in. It's going to split Zawa away. Double taunt may buy the rest of Formulation some time to get away, but that is UI. Luckily, the tower that they've taken down gives him an exit route, but Formulation do end up losing the Rift Herald as ViV picked that one up. You mentioned, though, Tower First Blood's already gone down, and Diana's pushed the bottom lane as well.
Exactly. I'm not quite sure why Formulation Gaming wanted to go for that Rift Herald as well. They were very, very greedy. Right now, Formulation is going to lose that mid lane turret, as ViV Esports is pushing with the Rift Herald.
Yeah, Brand has got there as Fekko used his ultimate. So did Don, though. We've got a fight in mid and a fight in bot as... mid lane, they managed to dissuade the push, I think. Yeah, they got the charge, but didn't get the tower.
Yeah, definitely. ViV Esports actually wasting the Rift Herald. They tried to use it way too early, and they weren't able to get that mid lane turret, which is huge for Formulation Gaming. As I said, like, not quite sure why Formulation Gaming went for the Rift Herald as well. As we said, like, they cannot fight ViV in these early game team fights, especially when Kranix has that package. You just don't want to deal with that. So they did an amazing job getting that kill in the top lane, getting that first turret, and then also split pushing with the Diana on the bottom side. But going for the Rift Herald, that was a mistake. And ViV Esports right now, they were able to secure the turret.
Yeah, that's really important that ViV got that play to work, as the rest of Formulation had backed away from the tower. And I mean, game 2, ViV tried the Rift Herald play as Dragon was falling, but they never got that tower down behind it. This time, at least they're able to get it on the second phase of that play while there are no objectives available and Formulation couldn't defend with the fight.
Yeah, and we've seen how important mid lane turrets are, right? Like, even though Formulation Gaming skills better into the late game, ViV Esports may actually be potentially looking for a huge dive right here. But Milup and UI are fighting in the top side.
Yeah, as UI is going to get pulled in by Milup. Milup has still got that shield available. Remember, as UI is going to try and sidestep the damage and gets the kill. Didn't get it with the execution, so doesn't reset the ultimate, but a kill is a kill in the top lane right now for UI. He's played now the other side of this matchup and is coming out ahead thanks to all of that investment that Formulation gave him early on.
Yeah, that was surprisingly close. Milup actually nearly won that fight, even though UI on the Darius had his full blood stacks. He had his full blood stacks for a very long time. But UI definitely coming out ahead in the top lane. He's 1,000 gold ahead. He's playing the Darius. Just Formulation Gaming enabled him to do that, right? With that early gank where they traded off the Dragon for that kill. Now it's proving worthy, because not only did they get a kill and the top lane turret, now because of that, UI was able to kill Milup. So they're basically getting ahead and ahead and ahead because they gave away that first dragon. So definitely a worthy trade for Formulation Gaming.
Ooh, Shag's got the opportunity to flash out. I think that Justice Punch may have just missed. One thing I think that Formulation have to deal with, Kranix has got a lot of gold. He's actually the most fed on the map at this point. Slightly behind UI, as UI picked up another wave of minions. But like the fact that Corki is in a situation where he's equal to all this investment may give them a good spot as Shags. He's very tanky on this Garen, and the rest of the team are coming down. Kranix is in pursuit down into the river. Galio ultimate is going to come back in and actually put Zawa in a really rough spot up to UI. This is still now a 2 versus 4. Formulation have overextended here, trying to buy time for Fekko. They've managed somehow to get him out. No, the brand ultimate whips. The first bounce doesn't happen, and that is not what Formulation needed from Fekko. They're going to back away from the tower, but that was an overcommit, and Flower is going to try and make sure they take even longer so that it sets ViV up for the Dragon.
I love how Flower was absolutely ready for that Brand ultimate right there. You mentioned it. He instantly went away from his teammate, so Brand ultimate wasn't able to hit anyone but Flower. And if Flower hadn't done that, Brand could have possibly gotten some kills right there, because that ultimate hurts. That ultimate and the passive of Brand hurt a lot. So amazing job by Flower right there. Just, you know, going away from his teammates, being calm and collective, knowing how to deal with the Brand ultimate, and now yet again stress. Brand ultimate wasted for the first dragon.
Yeah, there's Kamau even gets tagged by Kranix a heavy amount. Kranix has himself the package this time.
Yeah,
I mean, we called it out in game 2. This time it's been a lot more aptly timed from Kranix. It's been there and available when they want it, and it means they can get Dragon and still have it available for an attempt at the Rift Herald. They can cut this wave if they need to use it already, but big teamfight tool still there for ViV.
And this is how you play the composition that ViV has. This is how you play it. Yet again, they made mistakes in the early game, but this is how you do it. You get both objectives, and if Formulation goes for a fight, you should win with that package. Ooh.
Yeah, package did have to be used there as it was going to time out, so just throwing that damage down, package is always going to deal a ton of damage to whatever's standing on it, so allows them to burn the Rift Herald down. Back-to-back objectives for ViV and Formulation. They started to fall a little bit behind. They need to buy a lot more time for Feko to get into this game, but he's struggling to find gold outside of that middle lane.
Yeah, definitely. And as we talked about ViV, right? Like, they are the ones to do the early game pressure, and this is the pressure that they need. They've already secured two dragons, and now they secured the Rift Herald as well. So they have the Rift Herald, which honestly, more importantly, they denied the Rift Herald from Formulation Gaming than the fact that they got it. Reason is the mid lane turret, right? Like, if Formulation got that Rift Herald, they would have very likely been able to get that all-important mid lane turret that ViV Esports has right now. But now ViV Esports denied it. Formulation cannot take the mid lane turret as easily anymore, and it's just going to be so annoying for them to deal with, because ViV Esports can constantly run away while Formulation Gaming cannot.
Yeah, Formulation, they kind of have to stick and fight on anything they do. The other thing is, like, Brand's damage is a bit slower than Ziggs. Ziggs is like a big impact of one bomb, whereas with Brand, you need that ultimate to bounce. And really, the most of his damage comes from when his passive actually procs, and you get that third hit so that it explodes out and keeps burning people over time. Hang on.
This is dangerous.
Brand died solo mid. Feko died solo mid, and UI is now apprehending Tyra's on the tower. He's got a Guardian Angel's Hour, cannot really catch on to this. Rift Herald pushes down the tower. ViV are going to back away. Kamau pushing bottom lane, trying to utilize this Fiora split push damage as much as possible. Really interesting passage of play. I hope we can get a replay of what the hell happened mid lane there as well. As Formulation are trying to rush ViV out of their jungle. Zhao is going to land a taunt. There's no damage to follow up. Kamau is behind. I think they were looking for a flank. That should spell the end of this engage.
Ooh, Kamau is gonna try to look for something right here. Is he gonna find it? He's not, because ViV Esports have their turret, as you can see. ViV Esports will have...
Flower face checks in. They don't have vision control here. Flower is gonna end up dropping low. Grand challenge does have to force out the stasis, and now Formulation may very well have been given a bit of a gift, though. Set comes into the fight with the suplex. Feko drops low, gets a shield for himself, but it is not enough to keep him alive. Did get the ultimate out, but he just doesn't have the damage so far. Formulation, it looked like they were given an engage attempt for themselves, and now they're the ones running for the hills, backing away with two members dead. ViV only lost one. It's only their support. They can reestablish a little bit of control in this top jungle.
Floor literally walked in the middle of the composition of Formulation Gaming, and Don is dead here. No, he's not. He actually got saved. But yeah, Floor walked into the composition. He died, obviously. But then yet again, Formulation Gaming was just not able to get anything out of it. Why? Because of ViV Esports' turret. ViV Esports was just very easily able to run under the turret and stay alive. And then Formulation Gaming was the one to annoy us. As you can see right here, really good engage by Don right there. And of course, Floor dies. But here you can see it. Kim Yao tries to get the kill on Kranix, not Kha'Zix, but he dies under the turret because there is a turret, and this is the big problem that Formulation Gaming has right now, and they have to play around it. They have to fight somewhere else. They just cannot fight easily near that mid lane turret, because ViV Esports can constantly run away to it, and Formulation Gaming will just be left to death in like a desert in the middle for them because they have nowhere to run stress.
Feko is really struggling to get into this game. Like his flash was not available for that engage, and I think it went from that Garen engage in middle lane, which unfortunately we didn't get to see. There's been so much happening on the map that it is not possible to see it. He did just finish his Haunting Guys, though, or I should say Leandries, as they're looking for this bottom lane engage. Tries to get the damage. It's not that massive stone plate impact, but it does do enough, as there's the package all the way through. He's going to split things up, as Zhao is the first one to fall here. In go ViV as they're trying to finish this fight. UI drops so low, but he's been able to survive through. Fekko's already used his ultimate, and the burn is coming through. Look at how low ViV are. 2 end up dropping, and Formulation, they haven't done enough to be able to contest this dragon, but ViV are very bruised and battered coming from that fight.
Definitely, and we can start seeing Formulation Gaming's composition come online, Stress. And now the game is really gonna start to get exciting because Vecco, even though severely underfed, really, is starting to get online. Now the problem is, ViV Esports took 3 dragons. They have the mid lane turret, but Formulation's gaming composition is starting to get online. And as we saw in that team fight, as we look back at it, ViV Esports had a really good start with the Corki package. As you can see, like Seth with a beautiful engage, Corki with a good package. But if we look at this fight, after a few seconds, Vecco was able to stay alive. And now take a look at what happens right here. Vecco dealing massive damage to the backline, getting Cryonix to like 30% HP. But yet again, look at Vecco. Beautiful second ability, dealing so much damage with the passive of Brand, killing 2 people on the backline. This is the power that Formulation Gaming's composition has. And it's starting to get online, slowly but steadily, even though they're behind, even though they have everything against them. They can still win this game, Stress.
Yeah, they can. Fekko got at least 3 or 4 of his passives to proc within that fight.
Yeah.
And as soon as he's got an Oblivion Orb on top of it, that's going to eat through any healing. As Kimao, he's gone into the darkness. It's a rare mistake by Formulation. Riposte comes through, but it's not enough to keep him alive. There's the Janna healing off the Monsoon as ViV trying to do this. Dot into the backline. He's going to get the Moonfall to hit on 4 people into the Galio ultimate as well, but there's no damage on top of it. It's done enough maybe to hold it. Execute comes through for UI, and Formulation have held on to the fight for now. It'll stop any Baron attempts as both junglers are dead.
Formulation can do it, Stress. Formulation can win this game. ViV Esports being at 6,000 gold. Formulation Gaming showing absolutely amazing positioning in that team fight. Fekko positioning perfectly behind their... Fekko positioning perfectly just to make sure he stays alive. Zaur with a beautiful ultimate, and we talked about it. Dawn with the 5-man ultimate really. And as we look into this replay, Kimiao did get caught out by the Lee Sin, but let's take a look at this fight. Vecco in the backline, and also UI in the backline, being able to get those stacks up on the Darius. And here we see him, Dawn, going in and boom, with a 4-man ultimate. And Vecco just dashing out damage constantly. And right here, UI is just going for it. With these full stacks, going for the flash Q combo, and then destroying Lee Sin with his ultimate. Man, this is a banger game, and whew. Formulation Gaming can make the comeback, Stress.
Huge team fight plays coming from this one. Formulation down 6,000 gold in this game, but their composition will get harder and harder to team fight against for ViV. ViV, remember, they're 3 dragons up. They got a bunch of Rift Heralds, they got towers, they got damage in the early game, but this game is for that last spot in the lower bracket finals. We're going to see who they'll be facing in later today when we've seen our upper bracket finals, but only one of these teams can make it there. ViV versus Formulation, and Formulation have been so good at team fighting. For the last few weeks, we've seen them put out these compositions that team fight exceptionally well, and they're going to have to do it again. It feels like it's basically on Fekko to keep himself alive, and the rest of the team to buy time for him and Dawn to put out damage.
Yeah, now the big dangers of ViV Esports are obviously the Corki and the Garen, right? Garen having 13,000 gold, Corki having 14,000 gold. Yet again, Cryonix does not pick up the package. Now, is he waiting for the Elder Dragon?
He must be.
I feel this is a mistake because this is going to be a huge Baron, a 17 or 18-minute Baron. I feel you shouldn't necessarily wait for the Elder Dragon, Stress.
I think without a pick, though, I don't know that Formulation can actually go for Baron, and ViV don't want to opt into it either. They've already got 3 dragons, right? And 30 seconds in, now Cryonix should be the one recalling. He's massively ahead as Mullup is going to try and get back away from this. Like, he has the Infinity Edge. He's looking towards a Void Staff, which is going to try and give him a little bit more of that damage. Yeah. He's going to recall for that package, and if this Elder Drake goes over, it's Ocean Elder. It's not the most impactful like the likes of an Infernal, but still, with 3 dragons already taken by ViV, this is a huge pivotal moment of the game, and that's why they're trying to get onto floor. They're trying to even up the numbers, and there is no Millup in this fight yet for ViV. ViV know it. They have to just be 5v5 at this point in the game.
And I feel like this is the last moment where ViV can win this game. If ViV doesn't win here, and they lose this Elder Dragon, then it's just Formulation's game right there. But this is really hard to fight for Formulation because ViV does have that Corki package.
Which means that Formulation shouldn't be baited into a fight that they're not ready to take either. The longer this game goes, exactly, like if the Elder drops low, they're going to be forced into a fight, and that's exactly where ViV are going to do. Tyrus has started it up. They're going to get the damage, but it doesn't die too quickly to Lee Sin on his own. Oh, that's going to be an engage. UI dropped already to half health as Sharks put damage down. I don't know whether Formulations are going to get in place quick enough.
Yeah, this is rough for Formulation Gaming. This is rough. Oh, and the Dragon resets, actually.
Oh, that's huge.
Corki,
that's actually
no
a big moment. This Corki's package expires, a Dragon reset, and Floor, Zauer, I should say, had to back away as Millip is forced to back out of this, and Zauer is trying to get any crowd control to land. They're going to do the Elder. I don't know that you need to 50-50 this if you're Formulation. I think the steal attempt from Tyrus is too potent, and that's why they back away. Formulation are playing this very tense, but very wisely. They need to deny a mid lane push, though, from ViV.
They need to wait for that brand ultimate. Vecca wasted his ultimate again, but is ViV just gonna get a turret?
Wait, they're gonna go in aggressive on this. They haven't got that brand ultimate, as you said. They're gonna try and get the damage to stick as Kamau is going aggressive onto Sharks. That's an attempted disengage out of ViV. They've already picked up Don, though, and is the damage there without that brand ultimate? They just need some. They stack on top of the Pillar of Flame, and that is not what ViV want to do. Yes, there are Guardian Angels available, but they are so low, and the ultimate is back available for brand. They cannot take this fight, and ViV barely hold on to that, but they have to be so careful.
Oh my god, in the next fight, now the advantage is towards Formulation Gaming. If they have that brand ultimate, if they actually hit a good brand ultimate, as we look into this replay, Galio with a very weird engagement just gets destroyed by Sharks on the Garen with that ultimate right there. And really nice ultimate by the Diana, but an even better ultimate by Janna right there. Just saving everyone, really. And he did get caught out here, unfortunately. And we can see the power of Brand, right? Like, we can see the power of Brand. This was all without his ultimate, by the way.
They've started the Baron. Kamau is over the back a bit. Does know that it's there, down to 4,000 health. Teleport's coming through. They don't need to 50-50 it. They can just take the fight because Baron damage has already hit, although now Kamau is the one dropping. Flash away.
They go for it.
Protobell apprehend as UI. Flash over the wall from Kamau. Kamau drops very low. Guardian Angel still there for him, though, and he's actually going to get focused down under the Baron. Don gets the Moonfall, gets the damage down. Who's going to come out ahead of this fight? Is Millip with a huge shield in the Baron pit, and ViV have done it. Surely ViV have done it. They take the Baron. They take the fight. They're going to take the series, and ViV have weathered the storm. The team fight from Formulation was not good enough. ViV have crushed through the base, and one last wave of minions is going to be enough for ViV Esports to accelerate their way to the lower bracket finals.
Oh my god, ViV has done it. They won the game. They were just able to destroy Formulation Gaming during the team fight. That was just such an amazing fight. Sharks using his ultimate on the Fiora. Oh, what the hell. I really believe that Formulation Gaming could make the comeback, but ViV Esports maintained the snowball and threw it right into the face of Formulation Gaming right there and took this series with a 2-1 victory.
Formulation just... They couldn't find that last fight, but ViV, they attempted the Dragon, backed away. They went for the fight and backed away. And it was only like trying to rush down this Baron that kind of baited Formulation into just fighting and throwing everything at them. And they had scattered the fight well enough that this brand damage just couldn't find itself. Like, Kamau didn't have any low targets to chase, but like this game felt like it was balancing on a knife's edge at these final moments.
Definitely. It was literally like a countdown for Formulation Gaming to just win the game. The stronger brand gets, the easier they win the game. And honestly, I feel like Formulation may have even reached that point, but like ViV Esports playing so incredibly well into that brand. They were caught off guard a few times by the brand, as we can see into this replay right here, but constantly basically separating each other just to not get destroyed by brand, because we know that brand is really good against enemies that are stuck together a lot, but they were constantly separating and just denying the brand damage. And Formulation Gaming just wasn't able to do it, and Sharks on that level 15 Garen in the late game with a full build, you just cannot get through that.
Yeah, no, not able to get through that. And I mean, this game really, like, ViV looked very good early game. I think like Formulation even played well through the early game, but they pushed this brand so far back in the game with just constant aggression and getting into the backline. And like Kranix, this Corki performance was way better than game 2. I think Kranix actually looked really strong in games 1 and 3. And there was just no threat against Corki for the majority of this game. There's just too much in the way for ViV, and rushing down that Baron, putting the damage down, and then getting all that damage to stick right at the end allows ViV to go 5-0 in a fight that really looked like either way Formulation could have taken it, but ViV are the ones that will make their way through, and much better performance from them.
Yeah, and Sharks on that 407 Garen. Just like we talked about Kranix and Fleur and, you know, Vecco on the brand, but I want to talk about Sharks as well. This guy, like, phenomenal job this game. Didn't even give a single chance to get a kill to the enemies. He even had that Guardian Angel. Like, even if you do kill him, he still has the Guardian Angel. So yeah, everyone doing a lot of damage on the side of ViV. Look at the brand damage though. This is what I was talking about. He was getting online 30,000 damage, but just every single time the ultimate not working out for them, and he didn't quite get to that turning point where he can just absolutely 1 versus 5 the team fights. Just ViV Esports doing a phenomenal job closing out the game as early as they can.
And that's the thing, is like that brand damage was a brand that was kind of behind in the sense of like got killed by Sharks, got put out of the lane, got like emphasized on in team fights, and still does that much damage. You can see it looks very much one-sided towards ViV, and ultimately that's the end of the game story that will be told here, is that like ViV continue to accelerate their lead outside from a few moments. But I feel like the way the game was going, it was way closer. ViV, however, do shut that game out. ViV very smartly play out the late game and balance where they could take those fights exactly as you'd expect from a team that's contending for our final 3 spots here in Europe. I'm exhausted after that game, but we still have another series to go. But before we get there, let's go hear from Kranix with Stuart for an interview.
Thank you very much, Jess. I am indeed joined by Kranix after an absolutely insane best of 3 series. Kranix, how do you and the team feel after that absolutely crazy, I don't know, crazy victory, I guess, overall?
Yeah, we do feel really good. We knew we had to adapt in the 3rd game after the 2nd draft. We knew that our calls were not on the same page, and we definitely feel very good, very happy to win this game against Formulation Gaming.
Yeah, for yourself as well, you've been getting some targeted bans towards yourself. You know, teams have been target banning your Vayne and sometimes even your Corki as well. You showed your Corki in a few games. Is that surprising to you that teams are target banning you, or do you feel confident enough that you can bring out Vayne in any situation?
Especially with the bruisers matters right now, I think it's not only because of me that people ban Vayne, but also like Flu always does a really good job on protecting me when I play those hyper carries, so it's not only my job. Like the target ban on me, also like for Flu. I do think I can play Vayne every time and Corki, but I think it's just a matter right now, so I just play what the team wants, and I think I'm fine with getting target banned with Vayne or Corki.
I mean, that's totally fine. You're able to win this series. You're in the top 3 now of the WREC. The next match is going to be RIX against Gamelord. Who do you think is going to come out on top? Who do you think you're going to be playing tomorrow in that lower bracket final?
I definitely think that RIX is going to win against Gamelord, and that we're going to meet Gamelord again tomorrow again in the lower bracket finals. I'm rooting for RIX actually, so I can hopefully play them in finals and not in the lower bracket. Yep.
That would be awesome. And what do you think your chances are of going all the way now? Do you reckon you could do it? Do you have the confidence as a team now to go all the way to Barcelona?
Yeah, I definitely think we have the confidence to go all the way to Barcelona and represent one of the 4 slots from ViV right now there. And I do think we have a good chance of beating also Gamelord, Team Queso, RIX, and all the other teams, also the Turkish teams.
Yeah, of course. Awesome stuff. And Kranix, thank you very much for joining me with this interview. Good luck for the rest of the tournament as well. And hopefully we'll be seeing you in Barcelona as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Always nice to hear from somebody who destroys me pretty regularly in solo queue. That's Kranix. It does go victorious with his team. 2-1, I should say, through that series. Let's take a look at the play of the game from our game 3. There's a lot of fights to pick from on this one, and ViV they weren't winning every single fight. Let's just put it that way. So play of the game, I'm sure, will be one that actually ends it. I guess it's probably the last one.
Yeah, definitely. It is indeed the last one, right? Where Formulation Gaming thought that they could just finish off the Baron. But look at Sharks on the Garen. Boom! Just old scheme Yao, just making sure he doesn't get it. And then the Baron dealing massive AoE damage to Formulation Gaming right there, and just ViV Esports easily winning that fight. You can see Chronics on full HP. It was easy. It was an easy win. They just caught Formulation Gaming off guard. You know, Formulation Gaming got baited by the Baron, thinking that it was going to be a free Baron. Even if they took that Baron, they would have still lost that fight, by the way. Just ViV Esports, all in all, having amazing positioning right there. Just absolutely phenomenal job, and that was indeed worthy of the play of the game.
Yeah, that really did close that series in favor of ViV. That means we only have one more thing to do, and that is crown an MVP. Ooh. And we actually struggled on this one. There was some good plays. There was some not so great plays overall, just in the way that we saw Formulation bounce back in game 2. But it's going to be Cranix that takes it. I think his Ziggs in game 1 and Corki in game 3 were real standout performances.
Yeah, and in the first game, playing that Ziggs, what a monster. And also in the third game, not the best performance, but in the late game, perfect. Yeah. Only some minor mistakes in this right there. Oh my god. Like, that one alone should be enough of a reason to just crown as an MVP. But if we look at all of these fights, like, look at Cranix. Perfect positioning, maintaining full HP pretty much while his team is tanking up. So just amazing positioning play with that Corki right there, shredding through the front line of Formulation Gaming as well. Absolutely deserved the MVP in this game, Stress.
Yeah, I agree on that. I think ViV had a couple of standout moments, and I think neither team played badly in any stage of the game. So ViV, we will now see tomorrow. We already heard that their thoughts from Cranix on who they think they're anticipating to face Game Lord. For Formulation Gaming fans, we will see them next in the last chance qualifier playoffs. They have secured their spot there already, but we have the big game, the big series coming up next. It's our upper bracket finals, Game Lord versus WREC. Stay with us. We'll be back in 3.5 minutes. This is going to be one hell of a series.